Yeah, what the Fat Lolli, the six-pack Lolli doc,
Right.
that was the first time we both stepped in front of the camera instead of being behind it, right? So
Okay.
basically, we starred in and developed that documentary. 80% of it was filmed on a cell phone. And so the documentary was watched 95 million times. We released it during the pandemic.
Right.
When people were the most health conscious, people were doing, consuming content, they were doing home workouts, people were doing curls. So there was a whole big fitness movement and health awareness.
Right.
So when people saw my weight loss journey and then they saw Teresa, who was instrumental and really the motivating factor for me to want to lose weight,
Right.
and was there for me when I was at my worst. And even we had a scene that was very graphic where I couldn't even wipe my own behind, and she was wiping it for me while breastfeeding Legend.
My God,
So it was very-
that's love
very
right
intense.
there.
This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement. Yep.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome to the Respect My Blueprint podcast, where we give you the blueprint on how to do shit. Yeah, all right. Well, listen, I'm excited about today's show. I have a fantastic couple here in front of me. This is part 2, as a matter of fact. For those who, have missed out on the first episode of me and my guests here, you see across from me here, you missed out on a great, great episode. But guess what? Twice the charm, right? Twice the charm. And we have his lovely young lady next to us. But we have, my guest, my friend, muscle model pro, real estate guru, documentary king, I want to say now, and with his lovely wife, 2-time award-winning bikini pro, award-winning filmmaker, mother of 2 successful child actors as well, too, which we're going to touch into. But I want to welcome, Anthony as well as Teresa Lolli. How are you guys doing on the show?
Thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
for
All
having
right.
me again and inviting
Thanks for
Teresa.
having us.
Yeah, it's great.
Glad to have you guys. Which, Anthony, man, listen, man, we did this before, which we did it in the virtual setting. This is the first time we're doing it face to face. So I'm excited I'm so excited. I'm going to leave my notes here aside for a little bit, but I want to talk about you to both of you guys.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys came from New York down here to South Florida, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, we made the big move. A lot of people are moving, and so we decided to do that. We first came down to explore real estate investment opportunities.
Oh, okay. It was business at
It was
first then.
business at first.
Okay.
And I was the one that came down and just was brokering some deals, and then I told Teresa, I said, I think we should really start, moving and growing our portfolio of real estate assets in Florida. And I said, come down. She came down. She says, well, while we're here, why don't we look at some schools?
Oh, you didn't have to sell her too much, huh, right?
Yeah, no, it self-sold itself.
Right.
It's beautiful here. What don't you like in Florida?
Right. Beaches, weather, palm trees.
Yeah.
But even off air a little bit, Teresa, I know one of the main things that moved you down here was also the education system and, the differences between here and New York when it came there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, New York was just becoming a little bit insane. Everyone would agree with us.
Right.
Maybe not a little bit, but a little bit too much. Just in every way, it was just not our cup of tea anymore. And like Anthony mentioned, there was just growth opportunities here,
Nice.
and the education system was better here, even though we're now homeschooling. So the education system doesn't matter anymore because
Right.
we really appreciate being unplugged from the system and kind of having our own schedule because our kids are so busy working constantly. It doesn't serve them as well as their classmates and their teachers to constantly missing days. So
Yeah, so that's a balance right there, right? Pretty much. Okay. Which I wanted to get into, your 2 kids really quick, because they're missing here.
yeah.
When we spoke, I was anticipating to have the Love and Legend, which, by the way, right? Which, if you could share a little bit about your children, the 2 missing ones, their ages, as well as one boy, one girl. Obviously, Love is the girl, I'm assuming.
That's right.
Right. And they're both child actors.
Yeah. They started. Basically, I was in the acting and entertainment industry.
So you got them into it, is you?
Yeah, it's my fault. What happened was I was an actor and
Actress.
an actress,
Right.
yes, and a singer. So Well, first of all, I moved from Armenia 15 years ago.
Okay.
And the whole idea was that I'll get American education and go back to my country and get a reputable job.
Okay.
I did half of that. I got the education. I got my summa cum laude title and accounting degree, and I got an offer from Deloitte & Touche.
Okay.
And I was at this path, and I was like, there's so much that I need to decide. I either take this diploma, go to Armenia, get a real high paying job, or I stay here, start an accounting career and climb my way up
The corporate ladder. Right. Okay.
Or I toss it all and I go become an actor and a singer. One life to live. What the heck? We're
There
in
you
America.
go. Right.
That is the
Okay.
American dream, not the cubicle. That's not what I am. That's not who I am.
That wouldn't have fulfilled you, right? You wouldn't have been
I've
happy.
always been a stage kid. Like even when I was 5 years old, 7 years, I always played on stages, piano, competed in
Well,
ping
you were an
pong.
Armenian Idol too.
I was in Armenia.
Oh, really?
Idol,
Okay.
I've
So it was in your
always-
DNA.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
100%. So then I got into acting and, fast track. I was booking left and right, booked like 10 films. One ended up on Netflix and I was the supporting character with Corey Feldman. And I was
She
like,
did a lot of commercial work, like
lot of commercial work.
bubblegum ads and things like that.
Oh,
Working
okay,
actors,
good.
They don't have
Yeah.
to necessarily be A-list actor star. You can be driving a car in a commercial or a passenger in,
Yeah.
in a Mercedes. That's all acting.
At the end of the day, right?
Yeah, that's all acting. You get paid to do that kind of work. She did some other like Home Depot style commercials and stuff. So acting is a big, big industry, and there's voiceover acting.
and you can be at different levels
Right.
in that
Right.
industry as well.
Which is especially paramount nowadays because content creation is king, right? So
Right.
let me ask you, because the necessity of content creation, can anyone be an actor or an actress?
It really depends. So first of all, you have to have a thick skin and you have to really want to do that.
Okay.
You have to want to be in front of camera. You have to love to hear your sound and watch yourself. That's a big deal. Every actor.
So
take direction.
Yeah.
You must have to almost be like a disciplined narcissist in a way, because you have to, like you just said, kind
You
of
have to
like,
not judge yourself. Yeah. I don't
Right.
know if it's a narcissist thing, but it's like the non-judgment, right?
right? Okay.
Every actor I've come across, they all say, "Oh, I hate hearing myself," and it's like you really have to break through what general people do and live their lives.
Right.
And as an actor, you have to look at yourself as someone else and how
Like
others
vicariously
perceive
get
you.
into got it.
Right.
Got
So
it. Okay.
there's a lot of self-discipline that has to go into it. The way you look, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak. I worked on my accent for a long time because that was a big part of me booking jobs.
Breaking that hump to get to
Correct.
gigs and things like that.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Got you.
it's just, and obviously you have to have a talent. You have to, be able to be bright enough to memorize lines and be able to put yourself into character. And now the industry moved so far away from characters and becoming a character.
Uh-huh.
Now they want you
The personality,
The
the
personality.
authentic, right?
reading
Got
the
it.
lines the way you would read the lines. So everything has changed in the industry ever since COVID. And am I allowed to
Oh
say
yeah,
COVID?
no, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Everything changed, from all the boom that happened with self-tapes and everything like that. Now they prefer the real, raw human beings to act these roles.
Absolutely. Which, before we get into the topic of our show here, I completely agree, because that's why we have this platform, podcasting and independent media and things like that, because the mainstream, they have gaslighted us for so long, right? And now people want that authentic, they want the real, what the actual host or what that individual can bring, not reading from a teleprompter and things like that.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you on that
Yeah,
aspect,
absolutely. And there's a
And-
lot of improv going on. So you have to be mentally there, mentally sharp and wise and witty enough to improv on the spot.
True.
Casting
True.
directors are preferring that these days. And also you have to be a relationship person. You have to really not burn bridges in the industry. You have to make sure you're respectful and you keep in touch with casting directors. You're good to your agent. You're good to your manager. It's a lot.
Building that
goes
network.
into,
Yeah.
succeeding in the industry. But what happened to me, I actually moved to New York and I wanted to go through a conservatory experience because I said, you know what? Since I'm really booking a lot, I really want to become an accredited actress. So as I was putting myself through a conservatory in the middle of Manhattan, I came across
in the middle of Manhattan,
in the middle of the world center. I came across a music producer, and I've always also been a singer. So I was like, okay, while I'm working on my acting degree,
right?
Let me produce some songs.
Let me take a shot at this, right?
Soon enough, within a year, I recorded an entire album. Wrote all my lyrics, my music, produced everything. And as I was getting ready to, work with Warner Brothers, I met Anthony.
Wow.
So that was
Hold on, by the way, guys. Again, if you have watched the first episode here, the big caveat with that, this is not the Anthony we're saying here. This is the 300-pound Anthony, by the way, right? So I'm sorry.
Is that when you guys met first?
No, we talked about that during the first episode. Okay, so I don't want the audience thinking like, oh, she met this handsome young man. He's still a handsome young man, but he was quite different back then. Yeah,
so
right?
We met so funny. It was hilarious. You want to tell the story?
Well, what happened was I was there at the time. I was running a real estate empire. It was a franchise company, and we had a meeting with a big group of private equity group, and we had the meeting in a cafe. And so Starbucks.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we were talking about royalties and territories and all this kind of stuff. And then Teresa, who I didn't know at the time, was sitting at the table next to us, and there was like girls coming in and out. I
had a live show coming up, and my violinist. So I formed a band, an all-female pop rock band, and I had a live show coming, and my violinist called out last minute, so I had to bring on a new person. So I posted an ad, and I go to Starbucks, and I'm just trying to meet these people. So, like you said, girls are coming in and out. I'm meeting. And then there was a big gap in time, so I'm just eavesdropping and just listening into their conversation. They're literally next to me. And then...
Well, Teresa's a networker, right? So the meeting was over. I would shake hands with the guys. They left. And she goes up to me and my partner at the time, and she goes, "Excuse me, are you guys in the music industry?" I leaped over my partner and said, "Yes, we are. Yes, we are."
The opportunity was right there, right? Gotcha.
He almost fell over his partner.
She said we were like phlebotomists. I would have said,
"Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, gotcha. Nice to meet you."
So,
what kind of music?
But turns out, I was in the entertainment industry, not as deep as her, but I was a funder. I would fund films like things.
Oh, okay, because you was into funding and real estate back then.
Real estate, and I would work with a lot of celebrities and sell them homes and find them luxury rentals. So I had formed an entity, a company, mainly to do that kind of stuff, funding in films and helping young producers and directors get their films out on the independent filmmakers and things like that. So I was in the mix, and my home was used a lot in a lot of music videos.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of movies. So I had a home.
You can Google it. It's called the Lolli Mansion.
The Lolli Mansion.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Matter of fact, the 2000, what's his name? Uncle Murder, the rapper, 2015 wrap up was filmed in my house.
Well, I don't remember we talked about in our first episode how hip hop influenced you and everything like that. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So a lot of hip hop videos, AZ, Jay-Z, Nas and AZ filmed a lot of rappers filmed.
Really? Which, by the way, guys, he's giving a little insight in his age, right? So if you're watching this, you know his age a little bit.
Unless you're anti-aging like we are.
Right, okay.
But so I was always in the mix, and then so she was, when we were talking, she's like, "I'm looking for a location to shoot a music video."
Right.
And I said, "This sounds great. If you want, you could use my home. Why don't you go down there and check it out?" So, she didn't know what I was or what the situation was. Maybe that's just a move for me to try to get into my house.
Right.
But actually, I wasn't there. I told her to go. She went there like a couple of days later, and I had a whole suite for my mom. She had her own, so my mom let her in, gave her a tour of the house, showed her everything.
Boy, you killed two birds with one stone. Me and mom at the first time.
That's right. And you know what? The mom is what fell in love with me first. It was like we bonded.
Right. Good shot there. Okay.
For me, from my perspective, it was really honorable because, you meet men in Manhattan and it's a different mindset, right? This guy just, he's like, yeah, sure, you can film a music video. So he was very nonchalant about helping and nonchalant about friendship. It was no
awesome.
So I loved it. And first we became friends and, we'd have multiple conversations. What he did was he said, "You know what? You remind me a lot about me when I was younger."
A true hustler.
Yeah, a true hustler.
Right.
He said, "I want to help you. What's your email address?" So I was like, "Okay, here's my email address." So this guy goes and sends me one email. In that email, there's 400 links to various videos and articles about the music industry.
Beautiful.
And how there's good and there's evil
bad.
and there's bankruptcy and there's millions and how.
Oh, so you gave her everything, the whole spectrum, the good and bad.
Essentially, the blueprint of the music industry. I had a lot of relationships, and I was actually working with Raekwon at the time. He invited me to some of the things, and I actually he used my Rolls Royce in his music video.
Man, okay.
Chauffeur. I was chauffeuring
Look at
my old car.
Put that in his resume.
Look at that.
So I had all these relationships of producers and things like that, and so I said, I'll introduce you to all these people.
He took me to Jerry Wanda.
Jerry Wanda.
Wow, man. So you bet this is early '90s, late '90s or so. 2013. Wow. So you was doing your thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I took this email, and it took me about a month to go over all the. Some of the videos were like an hour
He
long.
fire hosed you.
Yeah, no, I took that as like a college course, and I
Right.
really honored it, and I really respected a guy out of nowhere coming and really just trying
Dope.
to educate me. I had no guide, I had no mentors. I'm just a person from Armenia
Trying to find your way into
paid with
this.
$300 to America, and I didn't even speak English. And now 4 years later, I'm meeting him, and he's literally trying to mentor me. So I was so blown away by his generosity. So I said, I have to make this guy proud that all this information is making a change in me. So I started reporting on every link, every article. I would just write a whole essay. Like, this is what I'm learning. This is messed up. What's happening here? I would, go back and forth. Then soon enough, we started meeting for coffee, and he knew what to do. He turned me off of music industry big time. He broke me down, and I was like, I don't know if I want to be a singer anymore. We went through with the music videos though, and I actually ended up filming at the house, and we became a couple. And then it was at that time where I had my meeting with Warner Brothers, and he stood up and he was like, look, I have serious plans with you. I'd love to have a family with you, and you're different, and you're Armenian, and all these different things. So again, it was basically what I had to decide between becoming an accountant or going back to Armenia or becoming an actor. This was another choice that I had to make.
It's like that fork in the road, red pill, blue pill in a way, right?
Yeah, life-changing.
It was so interesting because we have this joke within the family. When I had that talk with her, I said, look, I'm set for life. I'm looking, I'm older and I'm looking to start a family. I'm not interested in marrying Jennifer Lopez, where I watch you, shaking your ass on stage.
Right.
But fast forward the hands of
10 years
time,
later.
we film a docuseries where she becomes a 2-time bikini pro, and I'm screaming to her,
And like-
pop the glue on the stage, because that's part of how you win the
And he turns to
shows.
his wife and is like, I feel the I'm like,
So
oh my
you just
God.
never know where life is going to lead you.
Wow, interesting.
And so yeah, we had our first child, Love.
Beautiful.
Being that both of us were, somehow in the entertainment industry, her with actually acting and modeling, and me doing the back, production and funding,
Okay.
we both decided like it would be cool if we had, children and they were also involved in the industry. So
Okay.
this was like pre-planned. And
Right.
then,
Okay.
I don't know if you believe in the law of attraction or the, quantum.
That's energy.
Right,
Energy. Right.
So when she's pregnant, all of her modeling stopped, and then her model agency said, "Hey, you're pregnant. Why don't you do some pregnancy modeling? Toys R Us wants something.
So I ended
Babies
up
Are
on
Us."
the cover of a few of the magazines.
Babies
'cause
Are
I
Us.
had a really good
Really?
personality.
Damn. Look at
And
okay.
then we have
It
our
just keeps
daughter.
coming back to
Right.
us.
Energy,
Yeah,
right?
energy.
What you were putting out there was reciprocating, right?
Then we have our
Okay.
daughter, Love.
And I
then
was
we're
like,
like,
that's
okay,
it. I'm
that's
not
it.
doing it. I'm going to be a full-fledged mama.
Right.
Because
And-
the guy calls us again. Did you have that baby?
Did the baby come?
Yeah.
Why won't we use the baby?
Yeah.
Babies on the box of Pampers.
Baby with the real mom.
Are you
Baby
serious?
with the real mom. They were looking for a Middle Eastern mom with a
Oh.
newborn 2-week-old baby. Pampers swaddlers. We end up on the cover.
Boom.
And then it just
Boom.
kept going, and fast forward, Love is 7, Legend is 5.
Right.
Both of them combined have done almost 200 jobs at this point.
Mm.
Commercials.
Most importantly, they made so much money that they just closed on their first property
Yeah,
together.
buying real
And
estate
now they're looking at their tenant. They're like, yeah, no to this one. Who's our tenant?
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
So they're doing quite well.
What? Which, by the way, ladies, sorry, pause really quick. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hear any excuses about building generational wealth, being able to go ahead and get into entrepreneurship, do it. We have a 7 and a 5-year-old. 7 and a 5-year-old, although they've been, groomed, if a 7 and a 5-year-old can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Keep
And by
going.
the way, our
Yes.
daughter had the easiest personality. Ever since she was 3 months, she would be held by strangers. She would laugh, goo goo gaga, play with.
Oh, so
herself.
she had the personality, the outgoing
Now
personality
our
in
son
her. Right?
didn't, but that didn't stop us. So just going off of what
Right.
you said, it's all in the grooming. It's all in the intention. And
Right.
when you're committed to something, and you work hard towards that, there's almost like no way of that getting away from you.
Right. God is going to reward you because you put it in that hard work,
Our
right?
son did not like being held by anyone other than his parents. But 2-3 jobs later, gaga, playing with noses, has a stage dad and a stage mom, and that was
Wow.
fine. In fact, he booked a co-starring role in Martin Scorsese's daughter's film that was nominated at Cannes Film Festival. And his name is
And
Legend
Tribeca.
Lolli and
Wow.
Tribeca.
Goodness.
And he played alongside with Jade Petty-John, who played the daughter of Reese Witherspoon in Big Little Lies. So now that was his stage mom, who he still calls on his. So what happened was when he finished filming. So we have incentives, right? We have earnings.
Okay.
I booked this job. I got this job. Now they know that everything that they earn goes into their trust account.
Right. Okay.
However, on top of it, they earn something that they'd be wanting.
It's like
from
a
mommy
bonus,
and daddy
right,
for
right.
a good job.
Okay.
And so he comes out of set after 6 days of filming straight on. He's like, okay, so what did I earn? I'm like, well, let me take you to a store. So we were like upstate New York. So the best store was like Best Buy, and he loves gadgets. So I'm like, he'll find something.
Right.
I take him there. I'm like, roam around everywhere. You've got $300. You can get whatever you want. He roams around. This is 4-year-old kid. He finds a hoverboard. I've always wanted this. I'm like, it's a little dangerous. He's like, I can master anything I want.
Wow.
Yes.
4-year-old.
You got it.
Wow.
And then he's like, and I also want a phone so I can call my acting mom, Jade. I'm like,
Whoa.
okay. I'm like, I'm not giving you a cell phone. So we're getting a landline. So we got a landline. This kid remembers her number and calls her every day. It's the funniest thing. He can recite my number, daddy's number, grandma's numbers, and Jade's number.
Which
We give them
So
a lot
funny.
of independence, to
Yeah.
feel connected, and I think we treat them like adults. They're literally
plays a big part.
plays a big
Yeah.
part.
Right.
We go to dinners with them. They're like our couple friends.
Which, by the way, Anthony, I want to ask you this question then, because you've extolled your children and the careers that you've built them up to be, right? Over 200 films, 7 and 5 and everything. Now, not to say there may be some, let's just say there is some backlash that comes behind that statement. Like, wow, 7 and 5, you have them on 200 films and everything. So how do you balance some of the negatives, and if you would say, because you've groomed your children to be such, have this great career, but at such a young age.
Well,
So how do you balance that? What are your thoughts on that?
that people need to understand that people do this with sports. They want their child to be in baseball, or in
Makes-
football, or in karate.
Right.
Our sport is business and success. And so,
Okay.
where you take your kid, although our children do swimming, they do MMA, they do boxing, they do all
Oh, so
of
they
that
do
stuff.
regular kid
They do
stuff.
regular kid stuff.
Chess,
Good.
yes,
Yeah.
like
Okay,
all
so
of it.
they're still
Yeah.
enjoying their childhood.
Right.
I guess that's the main point I was trying to.
They are
Okay.
almost like, I don't know if you ever seen, well, maybe I'm telling my age, Over the Top, right? The movie with Sylvester Stallone, the arm wrestling movie.
Yes,
When
he was a
turns his-
trucker.
Right. When
Right,
he turns his
okay.
hat to the back, he turns into. Our children, when they're on set,
Mhm.
they're different. They're like professional actors.
So it's like a switch.
they turn it on, they turn it off. So you wouldn't even recognize. Like our daughter, you would think she's 25. She's like working with the directors, and she's like a real pro because she's been doing it for 7 years. Her
Right.
mom's been coaching her the whole time. And our son, the same way. Then they're back to being kids. So their main priority is having fun, playing, being kids. They love that stuff, but they feel purposeful. They like it because they want to emulate mom and
They
dad.
get fulfillment.
They get fulfillment.
Got it. Got
You
it.
know what?
got it.
That's an excellent question, and
Mhm.
I would add, what is it about being at school and being overloaded with a ton of homework? Is that childhood? I just want to change the narrative.
Wow, that's a good
Because-
one. I like that.
Or sitting home and playing video games or watching TV and like hours on
TikTok.
end.
Right.
It's like, what is childhood? Let's redefine
Let's
childhood.
redefine the narrative. I
Or
got you.
what is it being a child? Okay, when we were growing up, playing outside with dirt is
That was our thing,
happiest
right?
memories of like, well, we were normal kids. We were eating from the ground and playing with the
Play
dirt.
with the water hose and
That's
things
right.
like that, right?
You know, now the narrative has changed so much that I believe and I watch my children thrive in the acting industry, and in the work environment. They're actually living more of a childhood now because we're off screens. They're creating the films,
Wow,
right? So they're
okay.
actually more present and communicating with adults, and you have no idea what it's done for their confidence, for their level of maturity, understanding of life.
Wow.
And just being wise. I mean, they capture life in seconds. They go into any environment. This is why we've changed about 4 or 5 schools now, only because I'm Armenian and I had no idea about school. And, you know, I've toured every single school in New York, and then I recognized touring is not being. So let me be a parent of all these different schools.
Wow, that's a good. I
So it's
like that. I like that.
and the kids were too young and there wasn't going to be any drama, so we were like, you know what, let's just test them out. Put them in Montessori for 6 months, put them in a public school for
6 months, right?
Orthodox Christian school for 6
And
months,
just gauge.
private and independent school, and like literally learned everything about the moms of different schools of thoughts, the teachers, the philosophy
that
all
they're
of
teaching,
and then
right?
you really understand like what is it being a kid in this day and age, and what our kids are doing. They're lively, their
more
cheeks are
fulfilled.
rosy.
And they have more time with us too.
Which is beautiful.
They live in two
nowadays,
different worlds, right? They live in the worlds where we produce our own content that they're involved in, they star in, and then they also live in a world where they're doing a commercial for 1-800-Flowers. So when they're doing, you know, high stakes stuff outside of the stuff that we do,
right?
really it's 1 hour of acting, but you're paid for the whole day. So a lot of the times you're sitting in
Can't
the
beat that.
trailer, there's a whole smorgasbord of food.
Right.
Way more fun
Right,
than being
way more
stuck at
fun.
school.
Stuck at
I'll be
Right.
You have
honest.
set teachers, and then mom and dad are
And more
always on
important, they interact.
set. They interact.
Meet people, right? And instead of being behind a video game console or a screen of a smartphone or something like that, thinking that's their world, right? How most people suffer from.
Said if they're doing high stakes job versus ours, and that's so funny. I wanted to touch on that because our work and our body of documentaries are on Amazon Prime and Apple TV, and they are high stakes, and the celebrities we work with. But these kids come in and they're like, oh yeah, it's our production. So, and you see them change for somebody else's production. We're like, listen, you can get fired from this job too.
Yeah, it's like, hold on now.
I'm like, just because you did an audition to
Yeah.
get this job,
Yeah.
and now they're changing, and you know, they're putting. So the way we switch that is that they're co-producers now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They behave as if it's their contribution to be sitting and interviewing our guests. And
So more important, they understand. It's not just, oh, hey, let's just go to acting and blah, blah, blah. They understand. No, this is, hey,
Yeah.
let's position ourselves, take this serious, let's memorize the script, let's talk to this person a certain way so they understand,
Our
right?
daughter, when she looks at her work, she likes, man, she's like, I could have done that better. Like they really want
She's
to
so funny.
redo the lines over again. Our son, he's different. He's
He walks in, he's like rolling and action.
yeah, he's like, I'm
He's like,
ready
I
to go.
have time
He
to
doesn't-
Typical boys,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He
yeah.
likes to rehearse. He doesn't want to rehearse. He's like, I don't need to rehearse. I'm going to do it good. Live. I'm turn the camera.
The typical man.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I like that.
So,
And you know what? Their experience and everything that they've done has turned into a very high-end mission right now.
Dope.
You know, we've seen so many children and peers of theirs, you know, friends of theirs suffering from health ailments.
Mental
And
health,
a
and
very-
right.
Not even mental health, right? Stomach this, appendix this, glands, and, you know,
Yeah, it's-
lymphatic this, you know, removing organs at a very young age, and, you know, hormonal disbalance at the age of 9 and 8.
And that's crazy.
so crazy.
Come on. Like,
So a lot of things are happening, and they've been witnessing that. So when we jumped on this, and we'll talk about that, but the biohacking journey,
right.
this ringing this bubble of biohacking and health optimization, they jumped on board and they said, oh, so kids can do this too. And they understood that, you know, they're going to take a moment from their acting career and dive into this documentary world where they actually have a mission of educating their generation,
Right.
alpha generation, that, hey, you need to take care of your own health from a young age.
It's optimal, right?
Because of where we live and when we live. We're living in a toxic world. I don't want to say anything negative.
No, I mean, we all, right?
But, you know, the reality is the reality. Our water is full of fluoride and our air is full of plastic and
processed
food.
Processed
food. So a lot of health ailments. So, you know, at a young age, like 5, it's important to be aware of taking your minerals in the morning because there's no minerals in the ground. It's important to filter your water. Don't drink from the tap water. Even just the basics, the fundamentals, ground. Right? You know, anytime you get a chance as a kid, take off those rubber shoes, walk on the ground, go hug a tree, like things like
get connected with the earth, pretty much.
So educated now at this young age, and they're becoming advocates, and they're like, so we're like the youngest biohackers. Like, you may be, you know, and you have a platform, so you have to make a difference. So,
by the way, Therese, I'm glad that you mentioned that because we talked about this in our first episode, Anthony, where health versus wealth. You know, you can't compromise that. You know, in order to achieve wealth, you need to have optimal health, right? And, you know, we know your story about bodybuilding and everything like that, losing the 300 pounds and that journey and everything. But you guys have transitioned that and moved that into documentaries. You was able to go ahead and capture all of that journey and the trials and tribulations of that. So, you know, if you could share with me a little bit, what was the moment that made you guys decide to get into the world of documentaries? Was it just because of the weight loss transformation?
Well, yeah, what the Fat Lolli, the six-pack Lolli doc,
right?
That was the first time we both stepped in front of the camera instead of being behind it, right? So
okay,
basically we starred in and developed that documentary. 80% of it was filmed on a cell phone. And so the documentary was watched 95 million times. We released it during the pandemic.
Right.
When people were the most health conscious, people were doing, you know, consuming content. They were doing home workouts. People were doing curls. Right. So there was a whole big fitness movement and health awareness.
Right.
So when people saw my weight loss journey and then they saw Teresa, who was instrumental and really the motivating factor for me to want to lose weight.
Right.
And was there for me when I was at my worst. And even we had a scene that was very graphic where I couldn't even wipe my own behind and she was wiping it for me while breastfeeding Legend.
My God, that's love right there. That is love.
5 times a day for like a month.
Yeah.
So we had the biggest fight about that. He put that in the documentary. I'm like, this is our inside kitchen. Like, why do you want the world to know I'm a butt wiper? You know, I'm like, don't diminish me. He's like, you don't understand. This proves your love, your unconditional love.
That is true.
And he's like, you know, I'm telling you, this has to end up in the movie. I didn't talk to him for a week when it went live, and that scene was in the movie. I was like,
I can imagine.
My dad is going to watch this. My mom and my dad and my mom loved it.
Yeah.
And it
shows the unconditional love.
Wow.
This serious? I mean, come on, right.
So that, you know, we translated it into 52 languages. We built an entire fitness company out of it. Everybody wanted to be coached. So we started doing coaching. We hired a bunch of coaches and we did a lot of revenue share deals. We had a clothing line.
Pause 1 second. Was that the initial intention?
Yes.
Or is it, so it wasn't intention
because I knew that I wouldn't be able to stick to it unless there was a business behind it. Because my passion is business. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love success and growth of businesses.
Okay.
And so I said, if I can attach this, it was really psyching myself out. It's kind of like a person that wants a Super Bowl ring, right? They'll do another one for that other ring.
Just for that, right.
So for me, I was like, I'll do it if I'm going to get it. You know, my ring was a business and monetization and all that. So if I anchored that with that, coupled with the love from my family, because they were on my back about losing weight for a long time.
I remember you told me about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so this was the linchpin. I said, if we can do this and I can also inspire other people and help other people. So we stopped a lot of people from committing suicide. Like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of pounds were lost. I was just on a FaceTime call before we got here with somebody from Italy who watched the film, who's now being coached by someone. The guy wrote to me, because we get hundreds of fans till this day that write on Instagram, like, hey, you know, you're my inspiration. And so, you know, it's had a big, major impact, a big ripple effect. In fact, we started doing coaching. We started helping people, giving prizes, giving loose skin surgery.
Sure, like
prizes,
gamify it. Right.
the whole
Okay.
thing. And then we did a docu-series. So what
But
happened?
then I just wanted to notice you actually change your circle.
Yeah.
So that's another big
People,
thing that
places,
happened.
things change as you're elevating.
Everybody around us was fitness athletes, coaches.
Yeah.
So, there's no conversation of, hey, let's go out for drinks. There's no conversation of like, let's go to McDonald's. There's like, hey, what's your meal plan? Like, what are you working on now? Are you working on your glutes? Or
It's like, what are you benching now?
The conversations are changing. Your motivation is changing. And the new norm of your life is your circle.
Your circle, right.
So that was one thing that I noticed happened real fast once we got into this fitness world. All of a sudden, we're talking to coaches. Yeah.
Which, by the way, you are a 2-time bikini champion, right? 2-time.
That was after.
That's what I was going to say. So you
Coach
getting on
me.
your weight loss journey.
And then she
Then,
was left
boom,
behind.
got inspired.
Well, she was, so then it was the opposite. Then it was Beauty and the Beast. And I said, don't ever let anybody call you Beast. So then what happened was she said, what about me? I can do this too. I can,
I was always an athlete though.
Yeah.
Always, I
Because I just was going to say, this was...
I had a 3rd place diploma in my country for ping pong. I traveled and toured with my volleyball team, swimming competitions, dance competitions. Always had a great body.
Did I forgot to put super mom? As I was introduced, I should have put that super mom. But,
but I go and I tell her, I don't want to see you half naked on stage shaking your ass.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm half naked. She goes, wait a minute.
You're doing it. Yeah.
And I'm over here taking care of 2 kids so you can lose the weight.
Yeah.
But it was very inspiring too. Like I watched him on stage and it just hit me and I was like, this is the man that promised me he's gonna die fat and happy and make out with a mac and cheese in his mouth. And that's gonna be the last thing in his life. So when he said that though, I'm glad he said that because it was so dramatic.
Oh, it was an impact hit. Right.
And I was like, well, that's never gonna happen. So I actually took his face, I photoshopped it on a muscle body that I found on Google. I printed it out, I put it on the wall, and I was like, this is how I see you. And he was so furious. He's like, well, it's never going to happen. It wasn't until
a couple of things were happening. The kids were getting booked a lot, right?
Oh, so work was getting overwhelming a little bit.
Not just in a good way.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of family. So we were looking for a father, a husband, and a wife, and 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
They would pick Teresa, love and legend, and they would replace me with a model.
Right.
And they wouldn't believe that those were my own kids. It didn't fit the narrative. So I'm over here looking at some other man.
He was taking the BTS photos.
Taking the behind the scenes pictures and videos. And there's some other guy is playing
I can see
kids. So, and honestly, it was just, she was really jabbing me saying, okay, well, this is just the beginning. Imagine when you drop your kids off at school.
Right.
And there's other fit dads and things like that. And
right. It hits. Yeah, so come on. Right.
Of course. Because your dad's fat and kids are very mean.
Of course.
So I didn't want to go down that path. I said, I didn't want to be a burden. My mom said, hey, have you ever visited me in the hospital? I said, no. Have you ever felt like I was going to die? I said, no. So why would you do that to your kids?
So the thing is that I understood after 3 years of pushing my narrative of, let's juice, let's do this. It's healthy. I don't care about your weight. Let's just do healthy stuff.
Right.
I knew that health was never going to be his motivation because he is
business
very stubborn that my mind is my health. I'm healthier than you. You got glyphosate. You got Monsanto with your broccoli and crap, and I don't. And these were our arguments.
Turns out I was right.
That's right. We'll talk about that later. But he was never gonna change his lifestyle or eating habits for health purposes. It was gonna be his pride and the way his children looked at him.
Right.
It was more like pride because pride is a big topic in his life.
For men, I could understand.
It was, and I was getting a lot of Instagram messages from a lot of wives who said, how'd you get him to do that? So the way you get to do it, is you find what really is important.
What makes him tick.
Husband, brother,
father, and leverage that.
Every guy or every person that has let themselves go with their body has something that is going to motivate them to that level of losing the weight, and it's not going to be health for some people.
For some people, right. Obviously, for Anthony, it was a business. Like you mentioned, you said, I have to leverage it into successful business. And so that birthed the documentary.
Yeah. Yes. So we did the doc, and then and we did a deal, and it just crushed it on Amazon. And we
Man.
built the business.
How many
behind
views
it.
again? 95 million?
95 million. Now it's exceeded that, but that was during the pandemic. So
Yeah.
now it's probably 250 million.
It came at the right time. It was
Yeah.
between Fat Lolli and Tiger King. There
Oh,
was a
okay.
shortage of content. There was a lot of people gaining weight. It just came at the right time.
So the stars aligned
yeah,
for it.
July of
Yeah.
2020,
Perfect.
right in
Yeah.
the middle of that year, that crazy year.
Yeah.
He was that shining light, with
Mhm.
his motivation and like
So you guys, so the success was unexpected.
Yeah.
But the intention was there. But now that the success has arrived, right? What was next after that? Was it a oh man moment, or wow, okay, we did it.
Well,
Let's follow up.
I think I went in with the intention knowing it was going to be successful. I didn't know it was going to be successful 10x. It was really more amplified than we ever expected
Right. Okay.
globally.
Okay.
But we were prepared because
Okay.
because of my business background, I had the ability to assemble a team, create businesses and services and products
Perfect.
to be able to
Okay.
capture that and be able to handle the onslaught. But then we said, well, how do we, Teresa was more saying, how do we not start working apart and work together as a family and start creating content as a family? Because I think our journey, I want to get into this bodybuilding thing too. And so Amazon had already been asking, hey, what else you got? And our people were like, you guys are incredible. People want more of your content. What else can you do? So we did a docuseries. Now this time we did a 6-episode docuseries, and we titled it The Super Lollis. And this documentary was about myself and Teresa going and competing in almost every federation that exists, because every federation requires a different style of bodybuilding.
Okay. So there's different qualification and categories and things like that. Okay.
So we
different type of posing, different type of suit, different type of even meal plans and looks, dry, soft, hard. All of this was like foreign language for us until we got into it.
So we competed 32 times.
32. Beautiful.
32 times on stage, and she took home 2 different Bikini Pro titles, one in Europe and one in the United States.
Yeah.
I took home a Muscle Model Pro title at the World Federation Championship, and I competed in Transformation, and for the first time I crossed over from Transformation and competed with regular guys. So that was very pivotal for me, because that was also Teresa saying, you look exactly like those guys. Why are you not competing?
Like you passed this transformation.
Yeah.
You've done it once or twice. You're here, you're tanned, and you got the underwear.
Let's do it. Yeah, just go.
So
Right.
I was competing with guys that were never fat, guys that have been, personal trainers and military guys.
What?
And I'm over there beating them. So that was
is
incredible.
dope.
Yeah,
And this is for somebody that was 300 pounds.
And I had the loose skin surgery. I had all that kind of stuff. And so I was able to do all of that stuff. And then she also competed against 23-year-olds. Here she is, a mother of 2.
God.
And competing against 23-year-olds, 25.
I mean, guys, these are 2 examples of pure inspiration. I just have to keep interrupting you guys because, again, ladies and gentlemen, please soak in the value and gem that they're dropping here. Keep going. Yes, I mean.
So then we did that, and that was incredible because we went on a world tour. And we met all the founders of all these different bodybuilding and fitness competition owners, very nice people. And we gave everybody a bird's eye view or a fly on the wall view of what it's like to do couples competitions, to do male competitions, do transformation competitions, the highs and lows, the dieting, the coaching, the process, and then winning and losing. So that was called the Super Lollis, and that did quite well. And then,
that won 13 awards.
13. My goodness.
Very well received.
So all of our audience from Fat Lolli wanted to watch and see because it was like a to be continued.
Right. Okay.
But what happened was, we both were like exhausted. It was a big
project, right?
Project, but also physically taxing.
Yeah. You're at 8% body fat for months on end.
Right.
Usually these coaches and, athletes, they recommend that you do maximum 2 competitions.
Right.
In 1.5 year, like in 1 season.
Right.
We did 32 times we stepped on stage.
My goodness.
Like 6,
so this is constant training and constant.
Every month we were in consistent peak week.
Yeah.
Do you know what peak week is, where you're literally manipulating, you're depleting your water, you're upping this, you're taking.
Matter of fact, I think I had a boxer on the show where you have to go through like even rehydration phases and things like that. Right, right.
Very,
Okay.
very. I mean, look, we had to measure our salt down to that level.
Yeah,
We had to measure our water, our
You
salt.
can't chew gum because
intake.
gum has
Can't
5
chew gum.
calories.
Yeah.
So there's
Get the heck out of here, dude. Get the heck out of
This
here.
was for 2 years. We were on this
2
thing.
years you're living like
Birthday
this?
parties, nothing. We were walking around with our silicone bags and holding our meal plans that we were carefully making.
And you was only just this, whatever was in that bag, that's it you eat.
Exactly. People almost started like, are you guys ever going to break out of this? We're like, once we finish the docuseries.
Yeah.
So the docuseries was the pushing force to be able to sustain this lifestyle that I got it.
But also the competitions themselves. And that's something we discovered, that this competition world is so encouraging, right?
Yeah.
When you have that goal, when you have that date, that deadline, and you have your swimsuit ready, or your trunk ready, and you visualize yourself stepping on that stage and being at your best shape. Because a lot of people lose the weight, but are they really at that
optimal shape? Right.
You want to see yourself at that shape, right? And I did the same visualization for myself too. I put my face
the same way
Victoria, but I put my face on a Victoria's Secret, model's body, which they weren't as toned either. At the end of the day, I compare both of the pictures, and I was like, damn, I look good.
Right.
And then we realized, we're like, wow, how amazing would be if people had, known this information. They know that there's these competitions, that they push themselves for that. Once you hit that, once you get to that perfect body, something switches in your brain when you just want to keep that going.
Yeah, because you've worked so hard for it, right?
You also see it.
But then us competing so many times, it confirmed and solidified that we got what it takes to do it. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a one-time thing.
That's true.
So
right.
It really kind of gave us the proper discipline, especially for me, who was formerly obese. You're always scared. Am I going to get fat again? Is this a one-time thing? For me, it really concreted the fact that, and we show binge eating, a bunch of stuff that a lot of people will learn from watching the docuseries. But interestingly enough, so I'm backstage with a guy named Alex Porro, who was a transformation champion. He was 500 pounds. He lost 300 pounds, competed and won, but he had tremendous loose skin.
I can imagine.
His skin was like as loose as my jacket. And he would go on stage and flap it. And he's a big star in the 500 pound plus category. You ever seen that show, My 600 Pound Life? Like people that are huge, bedridden, that's how fat they got. He was in that category. He lost all the weight. So remember, the man with no shoes felt bad until he saw the man with no feet. Right? So he was the guy that was fatter than I was.
Right.
And that's another big, even more dangerous category. So I was 300. He was 500.
Right. Damn.
So I meet him backstage, and we're talking. We become buddies.
He already seen the movie.
He already saw the movie.
Oh, you seen the?
I wish I could get your loose skin surgery.
I wish I could get
saw it.
Yeah, and he's like, but I can't afford it. I'm a truck driver. He's a young guy. And then I get a phone call from the plastic surgeon who we featured in our Fat Lolli documentary for like 10 seconds because I cut my loose skin off too.
Right.
And he's like, Anthony, can you do some influencer stuff with me? And my phone's ringing off the hook ever since I appeared in that film. What more can we do? I said, you know what? Why don't we do a documentary about this kid, Alex? He can't afford your surgery. But if we did the surgery on camera, it would be worth it. Mm-hmm. And we could actually blow your business up even more.
Even more, right. You have like a testimonial.
Yeah, like a testimonial. Sure enough, we did. We filmed it. Teresa and I did this whole documentary. It's called Skin Deep.
7-hour surgery.
7-hour surgery.
On camera. With pre, post, all the dangers involved in it.
So the
all
guy,
the risks involved in it, everything.
He makes it through the surgery. Dr. Douglas Steinbreck, he's getting 24 million views on Instagram from the clips and the shorts. He's doing YouTube videos. He's booked all of his plastic surgery locations are booked and busy. People are DMing Alex.
Year,
I think he's booked till next year. The whole loose skin community. Now he's the number one
go-to guy.
But
to
why?
get loose
because
skin.
His surgery healed beautifully. You can barely see the scar.
Right.
So when Alex saw him backstage, he's like, dude, that surgery healed like this. Like, that's unbelievable. Right. You don't see that. There's a lot of butts.
Yeah. And so fast forward the hands of time. Alex then gets the loose skin surgery, heals, competes at the 2020.
Get the heck out of here.
Wins the Transformation Championship. Then he meets a beautiful lady. I help him buy a condo. He buys his first real estate investment. He's having a baby now with a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Oh my God! His life just turned around.
This is after his ex-wife cheated on him and he got divorced.
Oh my goodness, bro!
But it goes to show you, even though he transformed, that loose skin was still a reminder of who he used to be. So his confidence level, and he knew that firsthand. This is why,
right? Because you've went through it and you've seen how it changed internally for you, so you knew it needed that for him, right? Yeah. Okay.
So I wanted to erase, completely the damage that I did, and then once I knew it was possible, to do that,
right?
Because essentially my body was bankrupt, and you want to start over, and you want to start fresh, and so the loose skin surgery is your ability to start over, like in Monopoly, right? Go past,
go through. Right.
And so I had that chance. And so when I discovered the word transformation is really when I could identify what I was looking to accomplish. I didn't want to just lose weight and be like a Weight Watchers guy and hold my loose pants, but still have my shirt on. Yeah. I wanted to completely
really show the full. Okay,
and that's what transformation is about. It's really transforming everything about your life, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, and it's the whole kit and caboodle. So Skin Deep, and it was incredible, and it
13
was
awards on that one.
Wow,
neck to neck with Super Lollis.
Super Lollis.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We got a phone call from a buddy of mine, who's a business entrepreneur, and he says there's this guy named George Farah. He's one of the most premier bodybuilding coaches to all the stars, Mr. Olympia, Arnold Classic champions. I think he has over 135.
Man, okay.
Big names that he's actually the reason why they became champions. He's coached them, like big 300-pound guys, like the
popular people. And not only that, he extended some of these people's lives by 10 years, like careers by 10 years. And that's caught on camera. And they swear by his coaching technique, where he actually cares about the athlete's health and longevity versus
winning a competition or what was something like I see what you're saying.
Really heart, but on top of that, he has a very interesting story. He grew up in Lebanon as a child soldier, moved to America, lived impoverished out of a car, and he had one inspiration, a bodybuilder from Lebanon who ended up winning Mr. Olympia. So he said, I'm going to be
just like that, right?
So he was training hard, he was working out, he became an athlete, stepped on stage for Mr. Olympia, and boom, he was shot 3 times, and he was almost pronounced dead. He survived that gunshot, but that switched his direction from being a competitor to becoming a coach. Now he's coaching, he's behind the scenes, he's touching all these different athletes and actors and celebrities. I mean, he even coached The Rock. Like, he's doing amazing stuff, and 15 years into his coaching career, boom, he gets hit with stage 4 cancer. He not only kicks cancer's butt,
what?
Says, this man whooped cancer's butt. Not many people can say
that, right?
Then he goes to a quantum university. He graduates and gets a doctorate degree. This guy.
What
and now,
the heck?
So a very compelling story. So we went for a weekend to Rochester, to his beautiful mansion. And we spent some time with him. He took us on a boat ride. The more we talked with this guy, the more we fell in love with him as a generous soul, as a golden heart who's touched all these lives. And, he's done a lot of favors in the industry, like a lot of godfathering, in the industry.
Right, okay.
To people that couldn't afford him or they didn't have money or whatever, he guided them. And so we fell in love with him, and we said, let's definitely do a documentary on
we
him.
felt honored that he wanted us to do his documentary. So we took on more of a director and producer and interviewer's role in that.
Right.
This documentary was less about us and more about him but he wanted our perspective because of us being in the industry from the outside looking in. He wanted us to tell his story. Our purview. And we met and interviewed 32 of the 132 people. And basically the way we did this documentary, it's all of them telling the story. So we were able to stitch together our interviews with all these people in a cohesive manner where it's everyone telling how they met him, his background story.
Right, okay.
And so it's more of like a third-party validation documentary.
Okay.
And all of these people considered him as family, which is why they were able to tell his entire
The true,
life
right.
story.
So they knew him intimately, in other words,
Exactly.
right. Got
yes.
you.
And
Okay.
credit him for their wins, their health, the mentorship. They called him like an uncle, like a father. And these are big stars. Some of them have 11 million followers
Dexter
on Instagram.
Jackson, Kai Green, Blessing, Andrew Jack,
Wow.
Branch Warren, Bob Ciccarello. They're all
Flex
in the
Wheeler,
documentary.
the owner, the president of Mr. Olympia and the
Jim
IFBB,
Manion,
Jim
Tyler
Manion,
Manion,
like all these
Steve
major
Weinberger,
people. This
Flex
is
Wheeler.
the most star-studded bodybuilding documentary ever made, ever. And we're having an event April 25th,
so
right?
It just got completed and we're already winning like crazy. We're already up to 12 awards.
Kicking
and we got
butt.
selections like crazy. We're getting selected to
playing
play
in 3 theaters.
at film festivals. So the one that's close and convenient for everyone to attend is in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's playing at an AMC theater. And we're making an entire world premiere out of it. And every celebrity,
all the
kids attending, right? Okay.
Confirmed. It's going to be a huge kind of an honoring
standing room
him.
only, I think, at this point.
My goodness,
our people are like, there's no more tickets left. It's pretty insane, but it's
and the crazy thing about
this, you guys to come, by the way.
We're definitely going to be there, right? And because not only I can say that you guys' story are very inspiring, but you've transformed a lot of lives as well, too. I mean, talk about yourselves and the circle of people that's been around you have just been almost miraculous. That's the best word I could put it. Miraculous. I mean, from your friend getting shot to, all of his accomplishments, which I want to go back into. Okay, you guys now into doing the documentaries and everything like that. Is, if you could share with me, what's the science as far as putting a documentary together? Like, most people it's an experience we see just from in front of the screen. I get it. We see it on the TV. Oh, that's a dope documentary. I want to get it from the people that actually produces it. Give me your thoughts about actually putting one together.
I think what our purview is, when you're born, you're not the producer and director of your own life until you're like 18. At 18, you produce and direct your own life.
I guess that makes sense because you're under your parent. Right. Let's say Love and Legend, right?
Exactly.
But, so we're looking at this, and I think a lot of people do this with social media. Some of them document their lives. But what we're doing overall, we want to look back at our body of work, and we're basically documenting our life experiences in documentaries. So, right now, as an example, we're now biohacking, which we're going
to talk about, right?
But, doing documentaries, first of all, requires a lot of time and pre-production. And that's where Teresa comes in.
So that's what there's a lot of work that goes into it.
There's a lot of work that's behind the scenes. It's
I mean, look, going from coming up with the concept.
Number one, right? The idea.
This is what we're doing a documentary about. Okay, let's go. We're deciding our cast. Now we're casting. Now we're choosing locations. We're, interviewing crew and onboarding crew and scheduling.
And remember, it's all about, look, if you're a 10 as a leader, then you can recruit 9s and below, right?
Makes sense.
If you're a 3 and you're trying to recruit an 8 or a 10, he's not going to want to work for you.
Good point.
So we had to be good, 10s in order to be able to get a good team of cinematographers, videographers. So I think a lot of it boils down to who you are in the leadership business and in the organization business. And for us, we do experiential documentaries where we're going through the experience.
We're actually going to do it no matter what.
But the experience doesn't stop with us. We want to make sure that every participant, including who we cast, who we work with, is going through a first-class experience.
Understood.
From the hotels they stay in, from the lighting, from, the food that's
wardrobe,
on set,
makeup, hair, snacks.
We're not skipping any corners, nothing like that, right? Okay.
No, everything is very strategically done. Organizational skills are absolutely imperative for everything to come together smooth. And once that's happening, then it's mainly his vision, and he's very good with angles and camera and lighting, and he loves watching movies. He's a movie buff. Even when he was 5, he would take the camera and he would go around and videotape things. And so he said he's always wanting to be a director.
So it's been somewhat innate in you to be
It's
behind
been
the
innate.
camera, right?
My dad was a photographer.
Yeah.
He would do photo with the parrot, and I would go with him. And my dad liked taking pictures and stuff, but I like video. I like storytelling. While other people were watching sports, I was watching biographies and documentaries. That was my sport.
Right.
When we first met, when she mentioned all the videos and all the homework I would give her when we first were friends,
There's
a lot of them were the Home Depot founders, the Vera Wang founder, like documentaries of business leaders.
And how they got to
how they got there. So
it's funny. We have 2 different upbringings, right? This guy's been watching a lot of content since he was basically born. Me, I grew up with no TV, and all I did was organize things. We had no TV. We grew up in a collapsed Russian Soviet Union world where we had no electricity till I was like 10 years old. We had no heat, no electricity, no obviously TV.
Right.
And so I grew up with a lot of imagination and a lot of organization. So I would just go outside and plan a game. Okay, we're going to do this.
We need these, put these together,
I would put together plays. So when we started doing documentaries, we're just seeing how seamless everything is. Because I do everything pre-production. And once we're on that chair, I'm like, okay, you
got it, right.
I'm on my next project already pre-producing that. Yeah. So we worked so well together to put these things together. Like, he's great at what he does. And not just the vision and directing, but then taking it to the next level. Marketing, with global exposure. I mean, if I could get what's the name? The Neuralink into his brain.
Elon Musk,
I don't think it would copy everything because he is a marketing guru, genius, and just like
and that's where all his prior success and your business acumen kicks in and everything with the real estate and okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen so much success that for him it's fun.
Okay.
And I see, he's not asleep. I'm exhausted at 1 a.m. I'm like, oh yeah, I worked so hard today, right? Because for me, it's very intense. It's like, okay, plan, checklist.
I can see the I know there's a high degree of competitiveness between the both of you.
Well, right
I
now,
can tell.
See, I know you. Well, it's funny. Right now, we're in the biggest competition of our lives, and this is what she calls it, because now we're doing all this biohacking stuff.
Right.
We're now testing our age markers. So your body ages differently. Like, you could have a 65-year-old ear and a 30-year-old kidney.
Chronological age versus biological age.
You could
I never knew that.
A 30-year-old,
you can actually test it. You could test and see how old is your real biological age.
Try smoking, you probably have the lungs of a 90-year-old. So it's really every body part.
I see what you're saying. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Or a drug user, you're gonna have.
Then your organs are deteriorating more than what the actual body probably is. So, I got it. Okay.
We discovered through interviewing over 100 incredible thought leaders, scientists, Nobel Prize Nobel laureates, famous people in the anti-aging and longevity space, is the secrets to longevity. Naturally, through homeopathic ways, also utilizing technology, also utilizing brain and quantum, also utilizing, it's really education. It's a lot of different things in the bio, but this is really Teresa because she's always been the health advocate.
Right. Okay.
So that's
he's the business brain. I'm the health
brain.
The
health brain. Right.
So that's another thing.
But that's a perfect marriage because you need both of them to be able to have a fulfilling, great life. Pretty much.
Now we're in competition to see who can age their organs.
Reverse
age.
We became longevity athletes.
Yeah.
That's what I call it, because I don't see anybody who's as committed as him and I. We've got every gadget that we've vetted, interviewed, and who is in our documentary, made it to our documentary.
Right.
We have their product, and every morning I wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning because I want to get 20 minutes of the juice.
That is crazy. So As most people are sneaking to get snacks in the morning, you guys are sneaking to get biohacking.
This guy sticks into my supplements, takes my NAD. He wants to win that score.
That's good. I love it. I love it.
And our kids are watching it. And I was watching our daughter come down. He's like, all right, well, I took my 15 energy bits, and that's an algae, like most potent algae. Like one tablet
basically
equals to an entire salad with no glyphosate.
Of salad, in the
From one tablet.
From
Yeah,
one tablet.
So
And that's algae that's grown not in the ocean,
Right.
but it's grown in a controlled environment in Japan, filtered and quantumized water, right? So I mean, this is just one item we're talking about. That's
Wow.
and
good
red
for the
light
kids.
therapy
Became
cold
the kid's
plunge.
favorite. Yeah.
And this is all alternative medicine that I'm assuming that's been tested, tried, and proven to surpass or even provide better results than the traditional big pharma what
I'll
it's
give you
giving,
an
right?
example. Right now, you guys are not in the sun for an exorbitant amount of time, being indoors, podcasting. There's a way for you to supplement the sun through red light. So there's red lights that you can install, like by the computer, and that'll
To be able to get that same effect
the
that
same
you would.
effect. Yes,
Infrared
light,
and the
near
red light that
infrared.
penetrates through your skin.
So
without
there's
sunburn.
different ways for
Okay.
you to get the nutrients that you need to get. Or as an example, right now we're wearing shoes all day. The likelihood that you're grounding, meaning touching sand or dirt or grass, is
And
very
getting that
low.
negative charge.
But you
from the
need
earth,
that
yeah.
on a daily basis. Water, she mentioned water, right? There's fluoride.
Big deal.
That's a
There could be
big
a whole
deal.
documentary.
I mean, I
just
know,
on
My
water.
goodness, we didn't see what happened to Flint, Michigan
That's
a few
what I'm
years
saying,
ago, right?
But it's beyond that because it's just water that's even here. Tap water is not meant to be drank. It's not meant to. When you really think about it and when you look at some of the studies of water,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of hormones in there. There's a lot of drugs in the water. I mean, think about everyone's urinating.
Right. And this is unbeknownst to most people, obviously.
Do you remember what they said? The highest amount of testosterone in the water is in
Right.
Palm Beach or
Palm
something.
Beach, yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, they
Yeah.
test these things and
In the water, just regular.
that's it.
Well,
And the bottom one is even worse because that is leaking
sun.
microplastics. That's
The
causing
plastics
havoc.
that's actually,
It's
right.
causing leaky gut. And
Yeah.
when you have leaky gut, you're screwed because there's the whole blood barrier.
There's a
is
lot of
messed up.
amphetamines in water. I mean, think about what do we have? The big drug crisis that's going on right now. I forget what they call fentanyl.
Right. Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
people
Yes.
that are on fentanyl, they have to urinate. That water goes into the water system, and then
And
it
it's
goes
not
gets so all the
necessarily removed.
fentanyl is
Yeah.
not being
Taken out of the
taken
system,
out of the
pretty much,
system.
right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that stuff. So we've discovered ways to filter the water properly.
Okay.
And interviewing people. So that's like simple things. So what we realized it's death of 1,000 slices. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. You go to sleep with the cell phone next to your head, you're getting EMFs. You have dirty electricity. Think about the electric outlets, depending on how many you have out there.
Right.
These are exposed outlets giving electric. So you're like in the microwave all day.
Oh,
So you have
wow.
the cell phone, you have the microwave,
The
you have
5G.
the 5G.
Wow.
And then
Which we could do
you go
that.
and you brush your teeth with the
I know it has
plastic
fluoride and
But also plastic brush.
a plastic
The
brush.
brush itself.
So you're consuming,
leaking, yeah.
I don't know how many pounds of plastic by the time you're 40. Then you go and you put the
Deodorant.
Aluminum.
So then if you're a woman, you're putting makeup on.
But by the way,
Put it down in your
aluminum
hair.
is not only bad for having high aluminum levels, which is high, heavy metal toxicity, but it's telling your lymphatic system to stop sweating. And when you stop sweating, you stop draining.
Right. You
So
start
now your
getting the
sewage
toxins
system-
out of
So
the
it's just
You're not
system.
like-
taking it out. It's
The
a
way is
whole-
this. Wake up in the morning, you get stung by a bee. You can handle one sting. An hour later, it's 2 bees stinging you. An hour later, it's 3 bees. Compound that over
right.
40 years, then you wonder why you have cancer.
That's why
And
you
you
say the
wonder
death
why-
by the 1,000 cuts,
That's
pretty
what I'm
much.
saying. So it's
right.
compounded. So what we recognized is, the environmental toxins, no different than now we know smoking is bad, right?
Right.
So if you're going to smoke a cigar or a cigarette, you can make a conscious choice. You know you're doing that. And you understand
Right.
the you may not abuse it, right? Just like some people abuse alcohol, some people have a drink here and there in moderation, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing. You have to learn to moderate, the environmental toxins. You can go out to a restaurant, you can have the seed oils, you can do these things, but remember, if you do them every day on a constant, if you have processed foods on
It's
a
going to
constant,
come.
it'll catch up with
It'll
you.
catch
So
up with you.
good way to kind of anti-age is eliminating all that.
So,
And there's other things like brain damage. Like, okay, maybe you don't put your kid in football, so that their head is not getting hit.
Or even
Get it,
soccer,
think so.
that I didn't think so, but even soccer is dangerous for the brain because you fall and every little micro fall, even if you don't hit your head on the ground or a hard place,
that compound, like you said.
your jello, your brain hits itself on the wall of your skull.
Right.
And that in itself can cause something that doesn't manifest into anything necessarily at that time. But once you hit your 30s, 40s, and you're dealing with stressful situation, that.
Boom.
And then you look at studies like, there's an expression when the rubber meets the road, right?
Right. We've heard that.
There's so many micro rubber that goes in the air in the highways, because cars are driving.
Oh, just kicking it up, I guess, in a way, like dust in a ride. Okay.
Breathing all that stuff. So where's that going? You understand what I'm saying? So compounded over time.
Over time, right. So this is obviously in urban areas and metropolitan cities that we're in, right, that most of us live in, right?
Yeah.
So, man, you guys, one thing I could say, you guys go deep in a rabbit hole because I could see first it started off as bodybuilding, right? They crushed that. Yeah. Now we're into biohacking, and I can see we're and this is just not a cursory thing here. We're deep into it, right? So now tell me, which obviously you guys from your studies and what you've shared so far, you are intensely deep into this, right? So what is the next step or the vision for biohacking?
Well, what's interesting with this particular documentary, I think we're going to root ourselves in this industry.
So this is the focal point right now.
Right now, although we're in pre-production for 5 other documentaries, she touched on a subject that we're going to dive deep into also, which is schooling.
Schooling,
so
okay.
We're going to also interview some of the best schools that are out there and get some of the thought leaders and child psychologists, and we're going to explore what is the before and after of homeschool. What's the before and after of charter school? What's the before and after of public school? What's the before
Which is
and after
big nowadays, right?
So much confusion out there, so much misinformation, and so much subjectiveness.
Yeah.
And
have you guys moved from state to state recently or no?
No, I've born and raised here in Florida, and our governor DeSantis, he just recently passed a bill outlawing social media. Under the age 14 and everything. Yeah. He's one of the biggest advocates as far as protecting children and everything. Yeah. And although there's another side of the argument because he's also been, I think I can't say for sure, but I know he's been attacking some of the curriculums inside of school and everything like that. So I get it, me being a father and everything. There's 2 things I want the government to kind of stay away from, and that is, my love life and how I school my children, right? So, which I want to touch on this subject, right? Where you came from, New York, whole different story there, right? So, getting into this topic right here, as far as the schooling, particularly Florida, where you have an official that has on one side that say, yes, we want to protect our children from the alternative of school, but also on the other side, have his government go into what goes taught into school. How do you balance that?
It's an interesting subject. I think, there's several schools of thought. You have to think about the responsibility the parents have to do the overall education. I think the school should just be for the fundamentals and anything that you want to supplement.
Above and beyond that?
Above and beyond. Because even when we had our kids in the public school system, we knew it wasn't enough. And I think schooling starts from home. I think that and I think people do that in a religious way, right? They bring their kids to public school, but they don't rely on the public school to teach them about God and all those things. We take them to church. And so I think with those type of things, because we have a podcast show with our children that we're going to be launching as well. And it's called the Super Lollis, where we talk to our kids and we talk to them about hot topics like, grooming, child molestation, racism, things like that.
Right. Hot button issues that's going on.
Child trafficking.
Oh, wow.
Because they brought up a good point when we were educating them about this stuff. Our daughter's like, it's so unfair that kids my age are not supposed to know this thing. Where these things are happening.
It's happening. Yeah. Why hide it if it's happening? Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
they don't want to feel protected. They want to feel protected by the knowledge.
And we put them on high alert. So right now, whenever they're allowed to watch something that we let them watch, they let us know, hey, by the way, we're being groomed here because we watched this exact same episode that you authorized. And now they changed it. So it's no longer meet my mom and my dad, like this cartoon show. Mm-hmm. Hey, meet my mom and my dad. Now it's meet my mom and my mom. Or it's like they're now uploading the information, but at least our children are aware of it.
Aware of the right.
So I think as a parent, to your point where you're talking about the changing of the curriculum, I think, you can implement, say, well, this is what we believe in our home. And this is what we believe the real history is.
Right.
And so forth,
Look, I think with your question, it's an excellent question. I think there is a lot to be learned. Your children are a lifelong project, yet there's no education for parents to go through to raise them correctly.
I've always said there's no handbook on parenting.
Right. And now we're understanding that 0 to 8 is your, foundational years where you're forming the human being that you're going to be for the rest of your life.
Right.
And all mistakes happen during those 8 years until we all normalize. And I'm like, that should be the other way around. We should be so prepared. And then the same thing goes into schooling. It's just so much on information, and myself included, right? We changed 5 different schools. And the amount of information that I learned just being a parent in those schools was, I can't exchange that experience. And I actually understand what it's like, what their interests are, what is a good curriculum, what is a bad curriculum, what's strong, what's weak, what should they learn, Okay, my second grader is being taught about veto, and what was the other question you asked about the social studies to her? 5 governmental something.
5 government branches.
Okay, then I asked her homeschool tutor, I was like, well, she didn't really absorb this because we asked her last night and she didn't really remember it. She's like, don't worry about it. They teach the same thing in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. This is bizarre. They're wasting so much.
Yeah, it gives you a wake-up call at that point, right?
They're like, we'll drill it down no matter what, right? But then the years and the hours you miss where you could be learning a skill, let's say playing an instrument.
Another language,
something that you could actually learn. You're wasting that for information that you could just learn in 5th grade.
Makes sense.
Here's what it is. Like, we all like our own custom stuff, right? Well, custom. Back in my day, I would put a custom rims, and stereo speakers, right? So we customize even this podcast room. It's all custom.
It's custom, right?
Everything from all the signature items. Why can't we also customize our children's education?
We can.
Right?
Wow. That's a good point.
Right? So
damn
you
right.
can add the rims and the bells and the whistles and the neon to your children's education. You can add on to it.
And build their identity.
So don't leave it up to the public school system. One of the good things about Florida and Ron, I think, is the $8,000 family support. There's some,
which I wasn't aware of about that.
If in private schools. If you're going to a private school, they give you $8,000 towards the tuition.
But there's some
that's right.
Step up. There's inexpensive private schools. So basically, you're maybe I end up paying $4,000 a year for school.
Yeah. There's private schools that are $8,000.
Yeah. So this it allows underserved children or just any children to be able to participate and take it.
Anyone.
Beautiful.
You can get the
Oh wow, I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
There's a lot of, when you really dig deep, there's a lot of
homeschool kids get that too.
Right. They're big on education. So I think you can now take a look, and that's why we're doing this documentary.
And that's what I was going to say. So, okay, you customize this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine yourself going to 100 different other podcast studios and getting the vision
of different one, right? That's a good one.
Would you still build this? Maybe you will build this differently.
It would have been built different. So that's a very good point.
What's missing is the information. That's all we're trying to do.
And the experiences of seeing the different ones. Yeah.
And the end result. Okay, if you went to Elon Musk's exclusive school, this is what your day looks like. This is what your education and curriculum. This is what your child's life looks like. And this is the end result of where they end up. Right. Okay, Waldorf school. This is what it's like. This is what you get. Montessori school, Reggio Emilia school, Christian Orthodox type of school. Of course, these things different in different countries, different states,
areas and things.
Ownership, they're different. But collectively, you get so many ideas. Now you can go and customize what you want and actually select what you think resonates with you and your family values.
Or pod school. Ever since the pandemic, a lot of moms got together and they're doing their own schools in their own living rooms. So
just banding together and then just
putting their own curriculum together and following the online Board of Education mandates.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you two, based upon this movement you're doing, do you ever see a model like that ever becoming proliferating in the country where you can customize education?
Well, there is. We're going to touch on that.
Because you see different. I've seen influencers attempt to build their own schools and things like that. Groups and associations.
Kanye has a school too.
There you go. I've seen Dr. Umar Johnson as well too.
School. Yep.
Do you see that where that becomes the norm?
Yes, I do, because there's more people now, just like people are now taking media and the news and doing it themselves, just like what you're doing
with
here.
podcasting and everything,
The
right?
same thing is happening in the educational space, and people are wanting, and that's why we feel there's a big thirst for knowledge, for curation of all of that information, so people can say, okay, I don't have the time or the resources to travel to see what all these schools are doing, but we're going to watch
We can watch this documentary and give us a bird's eye view inside of it, right? I like
I
that.
think a lot of parents are also very weary and kind of afraid of not getting their child that state approved education.
That's what it is,
where they
right?
could maybe go to the college and just at least, okay, we had this. Okay, we have it. Doesn't matter what job you end up doing, right? You just want to make sure you're accredited and you got your 12th grade degree and all of that.
Right.
But what I'm seeing personally from the friends that we're hanging out with in the biohacking space, who are way alternative in their mindset and their lifestyles, and they're living in conscious communities, they're completely unplugging and not even following curriculums.
Just off the grid.
Off the grid. And I'm like, so wait a minute. So your child doesn't, like, if your child came to the real world right now and went to school, would they put him in 5th grade? Because he's, let's say,
right, that's a good
11
question.
years old. Would they pass him in 5th grade? Well, how would that happen? And their answer is, we will never go to the real world of the schooling. Like, their schooling is this world, and they own businesses now. Like our kid, their kids are starting to own businesses at the age of 15, 16. They view life differently, and they're not even following. Now, we haven't gotten to that, but I'm very excited to explore that aspect of a complete unschooling.
That's dope. Yeah, because you're essentially, like you're grooming your child on the the steps and the patterns that got to where you have achieved, right? And let's be honest, school teaches a lot of impractical things, or things that cannot be leveraged into true life, right? So what better be able to skip the line, I guess, to say that somebody that have lived through that experience than your parents, right? So I want to go ahead and switch gears now a little bit into the biohacking, right? And then we'll go back into the schooling, right? I want to make sure I cover everything for the audience here. Now, the biohacking, how long do you guys anticipate to have that project going?
Well, it's at its tail end. We have 2 more dates.
Okay.
It's called
it?
Yeah, that's it. It's called
How long? How long has it been now?
We started June 19th.
Yeah.
And it's
last year?
19th of last year. So
a
little bit less than a year, and it's a 5 or 6 part documentary.
Okay.
On the final cut. So it's not just one documentary. There's so much to cover. It's A to Z on how to optimize, biohack yourself.
Started the documentary at 215 pounds. And so this is the suit I was wearing.
Whoa.
And now I'm getting it tailored. So again, she also was 30 pounds overweight. So we both are on a biohacking lifestyle.
We didn't bodybuild or follow meal plans this time.
No lifting weights or anything. Very moderate.
Biohacked, which was optimizing NAD levels, optimizing vitamin levels, enzymes, digestion. So we did it in the healthiest way possible.
Right.
And it was way faster.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So our mind got sharper. We got rid of all the body fat. So I weigh 167 pounds. So I was 215. And now I'm 167 pounds.
Wow. Feeling good.
Feeling good.
Yeah, looking good. Just moving good. That's what's up. Okay.
Clean as a whistle.
Dope.
Yeah.
And it's all through biohacking.
And we're not taking any pills from Walmart. None of that. Big Pharma is giving. Nothing.
Whatever we are taking supplement wise, these companies are so vetted in the entire biohacking industry, and their products are literally just creating magic. And what we're understanding is the body goes into a state of disease where there's either too much toxins, too much of what your body doesn't need,
been building up,
or where there's too much of missing, where your body needs things.
Oh, so you either had an overload or missing.
Exactly. So what we're trying to do is get out the garbage. And he brought a great example. Imagine a swimming pool full of cans. How could you swim in that? But once you start removing one can at a time, and then you're putting this healthy salt water,
the swimming gets a lot easier and better.
And that's exactly what you need to do. You remove the toxins, you add what your body needs, and now you're in homeostasis is what they call it.
It's just like balancing the pool, clear with the pH balance of the pool when you dip the thing. You got to do that to your body. in order for you to have clarity, mental clarity. And mental clarity means you can now feel like working, and then you see the fruits of your labor. You feel like working out or taking that long walk. Now you're making healthier choices in the food. Maybe you're like, you know what? I'm aware that that's packaged food. Maybe I don't eat that.
Yeah, let me go ahead and skip the middle aisles in the grocery
That's
mart,
right,
in the grocery
yeah,
store.
yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of, well, I, me and my field, I like to just be a connoisseur of information. So I read some of these documentaries and everything. And the audience here, the reason why I want to get into this part of the topic, because it leads to this next question. A lot of the audience here are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. So they want to know how, man, you was able to crush it at a young age, right? So it's safe to say you guys can attribute your success mainly because of your health, the health road, right? Yeah. And I just wanted to see if you could share to emphasize that value to the audience, because, based upon the bodybuilding, the biohacking and everything like that, you guys would not have been to where you are right now had it not been being at your optimal health, obviously, right?
Well, I think for me, look, I was not at my optimal health for a good portion of my life up until I was 40.
Right.
Is when I decided to really change. Can you become? And there's a lot of obese people that are celebrities that are very successful, but the definition of wealth is different to everyone. The definition of success is
different to everybody, right?
So if you asked, a billionaire what their definition is, it's minus whatever they feel they're missing. You know what I mean? So that's really the definition. So for some people, they're missing health. So they're not very successful.
But in all honesty,
or they're missing their children, or they're missing.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
So he was in a different bracket, though. Okay, so when I met him, because of his weight, I almost could guarantee he had health issues. So I took him to all kinds of testing. This guy checked every box. Nothing. No diabetes, nothing. He's 315 pounds.
But he checked all the health boxes. That's why I was right.
You're an anomaly because, he has healthy genetics, but also a very strong mindset. So what you were asking is, I agree with you that health optimization can be at the core and the base of your financial success. Right. 100%. For him, it was the other way around. He was always successful, like a relentless.
But now I look at how much more successful I would have been.
There you go. Good point. There you go. Okay.
Because now,
there you go.
Ever since we've optimized, we've 10x'd, and we're in places we never thought we would be, making decisions and having complete clarity. Whereas my vision was almost like only as far as the headlights could see.
Sure.
You was almost like a deer ride. Okay.
So I could see far, but only to where the headlight.
Now it's a little more unlimited.
Now it's unlimited vision.
Now the peripheral is open now. It's like, boom.
Yeah. The circle has changed yet again. And our circle is literally in the quantum. Like we're obsessing over this
Bruce
quantum
Lipton.
now.
We met, the guy is in our documentary is John Asseroff from The Secret. I don't know if you ever watched The Secret.
That's the book.
Right.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
He's in our documentary. And
Dr. Daniel Amen.
Peter
Diamandis, Peter Diamandis owns the X Games, which basically it's $110 million prize to anybody that can extend life. So his best friends are Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
These are people that we're meeting and hanging out with. She's texting these people, and so these are our sphere of influence and our circle of friends.
Because you've immersed in this world, and now
we're at dinner with Dr. Todd Ovakaitis, who's
talking about stem cells, B cells, and he's over there trying to help women that have already undergone menopause to re-enter their years of
pre-menopause. Wow.
So he's doing this with stem cells, and we met a young child, a 6-year-old child who was completely autistic, and his parents said if there was a scale of 0 to 10, our son was at a 0, like no eye contact, withdrawn, completely autistic.
We're seeing miracles.
Now he's a 5 after 3 treatments with this guy. So we are hanging out with these genius people who see
Interviewing
no
people
limits.
that are 85, they look like they're 50.
Uh-huh.
My
Oh
gosh,
yeah, they're
that's
all
so.
coming. They're like, all right, what do you think my age is? And
They say it with such a with a flair, right?
And they're like, well, my biological age is so and so. And there's actually an Olympics supposedly that you actually are put on the chart with your aging pace and your there's a true age. This test, the name of the test is called True Age.
True Age. Wow,
You
I
can
like
self-test to yourself. You can actually prick your finger and send it out and get your result and see what biological age is. And we've discovered this self-testing industry is incredible. Like we're able to self-test. We don't have to go anywhere.
Almost like do it at home in a way, right? So okay,
And we know every single health marker, and we know our genetic codes, like everything. You know, it goes beyond what's your blood type and you this.
You really take that extra.
Well, it's like this, right? Balancing the sound, you got to balance your organs and your hormones and your mind, and if you want everything to be in harmony. And like, remember, my dad used to tell me. When he was like, I'm 76 years old, Anthony. Cars don't even last this long. So when you think about it, right?
I like that.
I'm 46. I don't own a 46-year-old car. Right?
Wow, that's a good point. Damn, if you think about it, yeah.
How much maintenance does that car like that need to do? So when we look at our bodies, it's gone through more than a car.
More wear and tear than a car, right?
The environmental toxins that we just talked about.
But you're forgetting God didn't make cars. God made humans.
That's true.
Perfect human beings to surpass everything.
And so we want to be able to, we know now we can live to 120 years old. We know this for a fact.
But hold on, I want to challenge you guys here. That's just in my nature to challenge, right? Put it out, right? So back in the biblical days, right, we all knew that mankind lived to 120 and things like that. But, you know, the population was a lot more reduced than what it is now. Now we're at, I think, 7 billion people, give or take or so. And so there's a lot of people that would say we're overpopulated now.
Well, Elon says the opposite.
That's what I'll say. Elon came out not too long ago say we don't have enough people.
We don't have enough.
Right?
People,
So I think, you know, I'm on the camp of, okay, yes, mankind started at such a very small amount that we were able to have an extended life. But however, we're at a different era now. We're overpopulated. How can we extend life at such a large amount of people that's sucking up so many resources? I mean, we have, you know, homelessness. People are dying in hunger. Half the world is suffering from hunger.
Those are all political self-sabotage. Like, there's enough land out there for everyone to live on. Even in Florida, there's still empty land. So it's not a real estate thing. And it's not a money thing because we know there's enough money to fund wars and
power comes into the pay there.
So those are the things. So it's really the issues that are happening are because of human error, not necessarily overpopulation.
It's also upbringing, like
the
indoctrination at young ages of what these different countries indoctrinate their little ones to become as humans. Then that's the narrative of that country.
I do believe that there's
different cultures and
when you listen to certain scientists, depending on who, you know, Neil deGrasse, depending on who you listen to, there could be some sort of global catastrophe in terms of meteor hitting. I do think that I agree. We definitely need to leave the planet and either have some sort of orbital thing or try and
kind of reset things a little bit, maybe.
Because I think when you look deep into this rabbit hole of how long humankind has existed versus how long Earth has existed versus how long the pyramids have been around, there's different data points to reference that there was intelligent life forms.
I agree.
But,
yes.
Like they didn't have the cell phone, but they had other technology that created the pyramids.
Correct.
Created things that still are unanswered. Whatever that technology was erased by some sort of global catastrophe.
Right.
Whether it was, you know, like
an event that changed.
We know that dinosaurs did exist.
Correct.
Right. But there was something that made them extinct.
Correct.
So what the intelligence is telling us now in the scientific community, that it's likely that one of these big catastrophic events are going to happen to planet Earth.
Correct.
And the only way to avoid that is by creating our own orbit. So when you got guys like Elon and Jeff Bezos creating space travel
that can make us interplanetary, get us right. I got you.
Combine that with AI and ChatGPT and the ability to extrapolate data, medical data, to create health extension protocols and things like that for you to be able to live healthy. When you add all those things together and you create an interplanetary environment, Now you can move that planet away from catastrophe.
From the danger. So in other words, and I'm glad you said that, because this sort of, takes us home into, so you're under the belief that biohacking, extending life, leverages into actually extending the human
what if we extended
survivability,
Albert Einstein's life? What if we had him?
But what if we extended Hitler's life? You know what I mean?
True.
So
Yeah,
it comes,
there's always a counter.
Right.
I mean, when you look at the history of Hitler, his mindset was he felt that he was from God because he avoided getting killed by a soldier. And he felt that God spared his life. So
right. They have their own twisted
thing. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be that. But what if there was 1,000 Mozarts? There's a lot of people like Elon Musk. But what if his life was extended? He could continue his work. Because what we've learned doing this Biohack Yourself documentary is that you don't have to grow old. You understand?
You don't have to grow old.
You can live to 120. You don't have to grow old to 120.
And still be cognizant, be sharp.
Right. So what I'm saying is that right now I'm 46. I can be in the prime of my life at 80.
Damn.
You understand? That's another.
Oh man, that's another language right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So what if we're meeting people that are,
that's dope.
When you think about it, why should you now get older and be prepared to get feeble and get, you know what I'm saying?
True, good point.
Why can't you be at your best now? You understand? Now you're saying, okay, I graduated from life. Now I'm ready to start life at 40 something and really build on all my knowledge.
All the things I've acquired. All
that's missing is your youth. And you can actually optimize and be in better shape than you were in your 20s physically. Because we know that's possible. There's guys that are 50 and 60 that are, Mark Wahlberg is over 50.
Wow, that's a good point. He's still acting, doing his thing, still moving and shaking.
So there's people doing it already. We're just not looking at that. If you look at Tom Cruise, all these guys are over 50.
Damn, that's a very, very valid point you have there.
You can take that,
J-Lo. So you obviously, these guys, they have the money. Do you think they're taking advantage of biohacking and extending their lives?
This thing here 20 years ago would have been $10,000. So technology and supplementation and demand is getting competition.
A competition, right? There you go.
So a lot of it is very very.
And this is what we're doing too with our documentary. This is going to be the most influential health documentary that's ever been made because of the star power, because of the collective effort of everyone coming on board to bring this world of health optimization and healing with actual tools. We're not just saying, put it in your mind.
Right. It's not a placebo thing. Just sit and meditate. This is actual.
There's a lot of those documentaries that we've watched, and yes, they're helpful, but a lot of people are so sick they can't even meditate. They can't even sit still and meditate or think clear because they're so depressed right? There's
that's a good point. No, of course, I'm not right.
What we created is we're bringing A to Z tools, a toolbox. Use a product that will give you this cell circulation that'll make you get out of a condition that'll help you think better and move.
So they could take action. So you're actually giving people the tools. So instead of saying, hey, take this pill, and here's the pill. Now go take it. In other words,
what we're really doing is helping people understand what this does for you so they can understand, do I really need that or not? And we brought our children on board and they're interviewing some of the experts and really dumbing down the content. So people are not intimidated by, this biohacking thing is so hard to understand. Because we first were intimidated.
I'm pretty sure there's a learning curve.
Overwhelmed, right?
There's a learning curve.
You're like, oh my gosh, this is a whole can of full. Which one do I take out? How do I get OCD about this? But then you recognize if a 5 and a 7-year-old can really understand, take action, and optimize their health.
Yeah, come on, we could do it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Most of these biohacking experts are giving tools that are for free. Most of their biohacking is actually for free, believe it or not. Right. It's some of the tools are made to replace the nature or bring the nature to your busy life that you just can't get out. And revive and revitalize the old and ancient methods that our ancestors used to use and stay healthy and never get dementia or Alzheimer's or
paying
cancer.
For stuff anyway. We're paying for water, which God gave us. We're paying for fruits and vegetables.
God, that's so true, right? Yeah, and it's crazy. And the stuff we're paying for to what we've learned now is hurting us, right? To a degree, the water and the fruits and everything to a degree is hurting us, right? Okay, now as we, we've went to many different directions here and everything like that. I want to make sure I do cover a few topics here for the audience and everything, which, the whole concept of the show was building a media company and everything, right?
Yes.
So a lot of the audience here, especially in 2024, they want to be content creators.
Yes.
And I preach on this show, you cannot want to be a content creator in 2024. You have to be, because in order to monetize, in order to promote yourself, you have to create content and everything. So what, if in your guys' point of view, in your perspective, how has content creation have evolved in 2024 nowadays?
Well, the name of our company is Lolli Brands
Entertainment, right.
So what we do is it's us, and it's branding of different product services and other thought leaders and entertainment. You have to marry the three.
Entertainment has to be put into it, right?
Has to be pivotal. You have to be giving somebody something. It's either edutainment, which is educating,
right? Okay,
or entertaining, and also branding, because you know the biggest football games could not sustain themselves if they didn't have an advertiser, right? So you have to be able to. What you're doing is providing a platform for other people that are looking for exposure.
Correct.
So there's a trade there. And I think that you have to understand as a content creator that you have to provide value, not only to yourself, but to the other person that you're trying to
receiving the information.
And
that's what we noticed too. A lot of these experts that are, huge and popular and successful in social media, and what they do is they really make a difference in people's lives. It's not about me, look at me, look at me. I'm doing this. It's like, hey guys, I know this is going to help you. So like do this and this. So they're really providing value. And this is what we're doing with our documentaries.
Perfect.
So, yes, there's a branding play, and that's where his genius comes from. We have shirts and we have website, and all of that is excellent.
It plays a part, right? But
when you really think about mission driven and, life purpose driven, we're here for this period of time and we're going to pass on. And, what are we leaving? Are we bettering this world as we're living here? So I'm very much mission driven, purpose driven. So when we create content that directly impacts human life, such as the Fat Lolli, such as the Super Lolli, such as Skin Deep, such as the Guru and Biohack Yourself is taking everything to the next level where it's more mainstream. Everyone in some way or shape is suffering, secretly or not secretly.
We have an Instagram. It's at Biohack Yourself documentary.
Right.
And it's on fire. It's gotten millions of impressions already.
Dope.
And we're collaborating with shorts with everyone that we filmed. We've initiated publishing like few seconds of our interviews with them because it's really good information. We didn't want to hold back.
You don't want to get it into the world, pretty much, right?
So I'm getting phone calls from very high level people that we've done a lot of business with, real estate developers, very wealthy people that I've done a lot of deals with throughout the years. And after 5 minutes of small talk, they're like, "Oh, what's this Biohack Yourself?"
Right? It's kind of like, "Hey, what's this thing?"
And then I hear the story. My wife has cancer. Or my son has Lyme disease, or
that's usually every family that's suffering from some type of chronic or illness or something. Yeah.
And so we had no idea. Some of these people, they're famous people that you can see on Instagram. We would think they have resources, but they don't, because health and issues like that has no prejudice. Look at Kate Middleton.
That is
cancer, right?
Yeah, bro.
So, people get strucken with disease and they don't have the resources or the answers.
A lot of times, or the answers,
sometimes the wealthier you are, the more you think you're right. And therefore, no,
the ego, my doctor said I'm fine. Right.
But it's also who you're surrounded with.
Right.
There's also, in high-powered world, there's like control. Right. This is who you go to. And if you look elsewhere, it'll be looked down upon.
Right. Like a kink in your armor. You're almost like
it's
vulnerable in a way. Yeah.
The circle you're in, that is literally your life. Well, we're trying to open up the people's eyes and say, this is what exists.
Right.
You can take it or leave it, or take one thing out of it. Like there's a tutorial on how to do sun the right way.
And we're all followers. For example, we have a podcast set up. We have this exact same thing. We have Shure microphones, right?
Right.
We're learning from let's
like
say,
you
Joe
say, like
Rogan.
the idea you say, go to different ones, you see.
But maybe there's a better way. We don't know. You know what I'm saying?
There's
So
no
same thing.
documentary on how to do best podcasting.
Right. So what we're saying is, in the health space, there are alternative ways.
Right.
That
Okay.
are outside
But it's
of
so
the commercial.
scattered. You really have to be motivated. You really have to be seeking to spend hours on end reading books, watching podcasts, following Instagram to find answers.
And in this documentary, our children went through health crises. So on top of so what we did was, this was our also family drama, because my health crisis was the weight thing.
The weight thing with
got rid of that. Then she started competing. Then that threw her hormones out of whack. Because as a woman, you really should not diet and get that lean.
Yeah. Well, before that, when we had our son, Legend, he had silent acid reflux when he was born.
Okay.
So, here I am, just a regular mom, no knowledge, no nothing. All I knew was that I was a nursing mom, so I was a part of this lactation group.
Right.
The Leche League, like breastfeeding mom group. So I go and I ask, and they say, you should have a lactation consultant look at this. So from then on, you start digging and digging. Again,
down the rabbit hole.
An extremely highly motivated mom who needed to find answers. And I was lucky enough where I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had a husband who was able to support my extravagant journey into this alternative medicine. And I personally he spent $200,000 in
Man, that's an expensive rabbit hole now, but it's worth it. It changed, life-changing, and you've seen the return on investment.
Okay, I made mistakes. I went to doctors that didn't provide me value, but I still ended up spending the money. So how many parents would go through the journey and get some benefit out of it, not get turned off? And when I did that, when I went through this journey and finally was able to get to someone who was able to help my son discover that he actually had mold toxicity inside from our HVAC system that was
so you thought it was like acid reflux? It's an environment issue.
Mold, and it didn't affect us. It affected him because he had 2 copies of MTHFR gene mutation, which is not a death sentence. There's ways you can optimize your life with that gene mutation. But this was a rabbit hole I went into when he was 1 to 3 and finally found someone who kicked it in the butt. And he was optimized. Within a year, he's a different child.
Right.
Meanwhile, we were thinking, oh my gosh, we have to test him for possible, on the spectrum and this and that. You see how many parents would go down the wrong path.
That's what I was just going to say. How many parents wouldn't have went that far?
Exactly.
Would have just probably taken the advice of the initial, he has this, and just give him that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we created with this, we vetted all of the products. We vetted all the experts. So we cut through the BS. There is no company in our Biohack Yourself documentary that is selling, what do you call it?
Trash.
Snake oil.
Snake oil, right?
There's a gazillion red light companies.
Obviously,
you Google that, you are lost. You're spending thousands of dollars, not seeing benefits for a long time until you come to the right one. Unless you're someone who knows about the world of biohacking, you're going to summits and conferences, which is still spending a lot of money.
Right.
You're doing your due diligence and finally finding the best. We said, you know what? Let's serve this on a silver platter.
Right.
To our people. They deserve it, and we don't have time. We don't have time. This next generation coming up, our kids' generation.
Oh, they're fast. They want it now.
But they're not doing well. They're all suffering at a young age. They don't have the same longevity. They're actually announcing this is the first generation that's going to live less than us. Well, I refuse. I refuse to have that be the human history.
I love that, right.
This is a time of human evolution that we're living. So, sure, you can either go this way, where your alpha generation lives less, and you're going to be okay with that. You're going to say that and live okay with that. Or you're going to say, we're going to change the narrative. We're going to pump up this human evolution to really take us to the next level of human potential.
And man, Teresa, that I couldn't have found a better way to sort of end that segment here, because you guys are really the epitome of making a difference, right? As far as health, as well as even the information in this education documentary that you guys are releasing. So, I can't even follow up on that, right? It's like, because Biohack, I've had another guest here, which I'm hoping he's watching this. He's sort of in the same field as Forever Young, where it's anti-aging. Yeah, he's in the anti-aging field. And that's sort of the context of our conversation I've picked up from him. So I'm utilizing in our conversation here. So, I like to learn things with all of my guests here, and I've learned a lot here, and I'm pretty sure the audience as well too. And, combining the education and the biohacking, not only do I want to commend you guys on that, but also on this podcast here, I ask this question to all of my guests here. A lot of viewers here, again, they're aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. They watch this podcast to get a blueprint, to get a piece of value that they can implement in their lives, to get them to the next level. Based upon everything you guys have shared, for the viewer here, in order for them to get to that next level, to them to build their blueprint, what would you guys recommend for them to be able to get health wise, as well as, it's a 2-part question. What's the blueprint for them to get to the next level health wise? And what's the blueprint for them to get to the next level education wise?
Well, a blueprint is our field of expertise, right? So we're real estate developers. It all starts from the blueprint, right?
Right. Having the blueprint to build the project.
So depending on the type of project is going to correlate to the blueprint. So blueprints can cost you $7,000. It can cost you $700,000. You're building a big complex.
Makes sense. Okay.
So first decide how big of a blueprint do you want? How big of, and are you prepared financially, emotionally, and also with, your family? So if you're going to undertake a small project, let's say you want to build a single family home, that's a small project. The blueprint. Now, if you want to build a big mansion, right,
there's a blueprint for that, right?
For that takes a little bit more time, a little bit more money, a little bit more resources.
Okay.
So first decide what your lifestyle, can accomplish in terms of who's on your team.
Right. So the practicality, you got to first get that down. Got it.
Once you do that, the blueprint is following all the steps. The word blueprint is actually following all the steps. And really, now if you Google the word blueprint, you can find templated blueprints for a single family home. There's all free online.
True.
And the same thing here, looking at podcasts such as yourselves and really diving deep and looking at the blueprint of the entrepreneur. Success leaves clues.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Success leaves clues. And you've hit it. You're the first guest, and I want your thoughts on this too, Teresa. You're the first guest to actually share with that reply. A lot of guests say, okay, if you want to build your blueprint, some of the cliche answers. You are the first one to say, hone down what type of blueprint and then follow all the steps. That's very hard nowadays where we're living in a microwave society. Everybody wants to subscribe to YouTube University, just get to the end, right? We don't want to watch the full 30 minutes. Let's just watch the last 5 minutes so we can get the end, right? But you're saying actually follow each and every step, which, the audience that's viewing this, I highly, highly recommend to take that approach because cutting corners, trying to avoid getting a mentor, trying to be able to skip this to get that, or maybe even compromise on your morals by breaking the law are all things that we highly go against and do not advocate for because it fails on some of the points you just said.
You want to be an artist, like say make music. What kind of music? Rap music? Classical music? Like what do you want to play in the game of business? What's your take?
What's your take on that?
So I would add something at the front of what he said and then something at the end of what he said.
Okay.
So the end of it would be your own manager or a boss, right? So if you're working for someone, they're going to give you job responsibilities and you're going to have to do it. Otherwise you get fired.
Right.
Give yourself that discipline that now you're your own boss, right? I mean, it's easy, but if you don't get this done, you'll get fired. So it's just like self-discipline. But the main important that has worked for me and for many of my family members and my friends that I've been telling is the intention and the mindset. And if you're so foggy that you don't even know what you want, there's a lot of people that are completely lost. There's so many options out there in the world. There's so much you can do, so much you can't do. You believe in yourself. You don't believe in yourself. Bring yourself back in and understand that you're the lead actor of your own movie. You're in this world for a reason. You are the lead actor of your own life's movie. If you can't even think what blueprint you want, sit down and take a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook. I'm just telling you how simple.
So it's right. I love it.
My kids are doing this too, because you ask your child, you're like, well, what do you want to do today? Like our kids are pretty much trained to say, okay, well, when I grow up, I'm going to be a hedge fund billionaire or something.
I love it. I love it.
When I grow up, I'm going to be Legends boss. It's funny, but they're trained to say this. But a lot of people, you're asking them up to adults, they don't
can't
know
even
what they
answer, right?
So,
or 1 week is one answer, the next week is another answer.
Okay,
yeah.
So what I recommend, you sit down and you write. If life was perfect, what do I have? What does it look like? And you write it down.
If life was perfect,
what it was perfect. If I was the happiest that I could be. Now, imagine you're depressed, you're on Adderall, you have pain, you're on pain medication.
Right.
You're living this life, right? There's still a scenario you could think about if life was perfect.
Perfect for you. Wow.
What would it be like? So you start writing. I would have, a loving husband, let's say.
Right.
Okay. And now you're going to write that every single day for the next year. You're going to say, I have a loving husband.
Wow.
I have a loving husband. I have a loving husband. You say it and you write it. I have a loving husband.
And then it'll manifest,
okay.
right?
And, let's say you're a depressed person and you are aware of it and you don't like it and you want to be a happy person. You're right. I'm happy. I'm joyful. I'm happy. Almost as if you're like
training, right? You're bringing it. You're bringing that like how we started the show. It's all of the energy, right? You're bringing that energy to yourself.
I'm telling you, it's not pseudoscience anymore. There's proof. And, at first we would chuckle at the word quantum, but there is proof. Quantum exists. And it's literally the truth. Like what you say, the words, the vibrations, the thoughts creates your life.
That is true.
We don't know when people are watching this or when they're starting their journey from. They may have had very horrible upbringing. They may have been in a horrible circumstance, right?
Right.
So you're going to say, my life is happening for me. That's another phrase you're going to write.
My life is happening for me.
My circumstance is happening for me. My circumstance is happening for me.
Good or bad?
This is happening for me.
Yeah, not to me, but
for me.
Everything is happening.
I like that.
Now, your difficulties seem like, how many nights I cried myself to sleep when my son had silent acid reflux. Now, people may think, lady, shush, because that's not a big deal. For me, it was a big deal.
You're a mom, of course. Yeah.
Person growing up, I ate an Armenian diet. Like my kid was supposed to be perfect. Like my daughter Love. Why is this happening to him? I cried myself to sleep. The day I woke up saying, my son is perfect. My son has perfect health. And I was in that situation. My son could not sleep because he had silent acid reflux. I was delusional for 5 months. I would sleep 20 minutes and I was up.
Because you're worried, right?
No, he would cry and scream.
Oh, I
he
see.
Would wake up.
I see.
So now I'm 40 minutes again, nursing him and rocking him. I was a zombie. So from that situation of being extremely sleep deprived, extremely just losing your mind. Now your son has health issues, this and this and this. And I started writing. You start writing. My son is in a perfect health.
Right.
My son is in perfect health. And I'm teaching this to the kids now. Our son Legend picked up the word hate from a friend. I can't stand, I say that the H word is not allowed, right?
Right.
But it was fun for him. He got a rise out of us all day, every day. We're like, I hate this.
Because he was not right. I see what
you know what happened? Negative things started attracting into his life.
Damn.
And for a parent to be so in
words
tune,
are powerful now.
For the parents to be so in tune with their child's life and really watch what's happening in their life. What words are they using and what's happening with them, and bring that to their attention. Look, Legend, this happened to you because you walk around saying the word hate. You may not intend it. You may think it's funny.
But look what you're inviting inside your life.
Boomerang something.
Yeah, it comes back to you. Wow.
Now, every morning he wakes up. He's like, I'm joyful. I'm happy. He made a hip hop.
Wow.
I'm joyful. I'm happy. I'm powerful. I'm beautiful.
Look at that. I love it. I love it.
It's been done before. It's affirmations. Like those things work. But you know what? It's everybody slips off. Everybody slips off.
Right. We're not perfect. Understood.
Bad, negative thoughts. And the power is that if you can't imagine, want, and manifest things, you write it down. That's the simplest way to get yourself out of the rut. Then your brain starts understanding it so much where you're now starting to think. You're like, you know what? I could have that.
I could that, right.
And then you're right. Why not me? write these things. Why not me? Me, yes, I'm the lead actor.
And the key thing is a caveat to that: be consistent with it.
Consistent,
right? Don't say one day I'm feeling good. Okay, I'm the best person today, but then fall back in that same trap 3-4 days. Right? Okay.
Helps. But then the next level of that, once you've trained yourself and you feel like, okay, let's go.
Right.
Life is good. Like, I'm going to do this. I can see this in my future. Now you do imagination muscle exercises.
Imagination muscle exercises.
Exactly.
Okay.
We do that with the kids all the time. So you lay down, and the 15 to 20 minutes prior to you drifting off to sleep are the most crucial minutes of your life. Because during that time, whatever you visualize, you fall into your subconscious. And we've all seen that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right. Okay.
Inception.
Right.
You fall into your dreamland. Your dreams and your subconscious is busy building that scenario. Now, if you're going to bed thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done this, or, oh, that man did this, or whatever, you're complaining and you're thinking fearful thoughts. Like, again, our son thinks there's a crocodile under the bed, right? And then he has a dream waking up, scared. That happens
to everybody, right?
Or they wet themselves, like negative things, right? Spiral. So the way you do it is you do imagination muscle practices the 20 minutes before you go to sleep. No phones, no nothing. You close your eyes.
Right.
And you start visualizing a scenario of that perfect life that you really want. Could be any scenario, right? Okay. So, like, for example, Legend was scared that a crocodile may come out and eat him. When we just moved to Florida, he's
right? Like, crocodiles in Florida, okay, right?
Well, what's the opposite scenario of the crocodile not eating you? The opposite scenario is that you will become 40-year-old man one day. You'll be married with kids, right?
Right.
Like, that's a scenario that could happen, right? Sure. Okay, would there be a nice Christmas party where mom and dad are there and your sister loves her husband?
Okay.
Okay, so now close your eyes. What color are the walls? Where is the living room? You see a beautiful big table.
She starts imagining
now you're seeing the opposite of what would happen if crocodile didn't eat you.
Right.
Right? And now you're putting that into your subconscious imagination muscle. Now you're starting to build that.
Right, like you said, so when you go to your mind is building that vision now, right? I see.
One day you're living that life. You're like, damn. I thought of it and now I'm living it. And this is how our lives are, by the way. Those 2 Bikini Pro statuses that I won, I saw it like detailed.
You envisioned it prior to
how I was going to hold the trophy. I visualized it. As I was living it, I was like, this is so fun.
Deja vu almost, right? Deja vu almost. Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. Get yourself out of the rut, and the way you do it is just write it down.
You know what? And Therese, not knowing, I kind of expected what we would have got, Anthony, because this is our part 2. But Teresa, you being on the show has just been the icing on the cake. I think you have not only dropped tremendous value, but the simplicity of it. Just write it down.
Thank you.
Guys, just write it down. Like, seriously, there's no easier way than that. And before we wrap up the show, I know we just started off, well, we're about to get into the second quarter of 2024, but we still have a long runway this year and everything. If you could share with the audience, I know you guys have a lot going on. It's hard to track. I mean, these guys, trust me when it's hard to get these guys in here. They're all over the place. So if you can share with the audience what we got going on for the rest of this year, what's on the calendar?
Our big event that we talked about earlier on April 25th at the Sunscreen Film Festival, which I look forward to seeing you guys
absolutely.
there. So
absolutely.
And that documentary, The Guru, is sweeping the nation.
Right.
We expect to have another event in Rome. So for anybody,
wow, phenomenal!
In Paris
and Dubai.
Yeah,
it's getting selected.
I told you guys they're everywhere now.
We have our children's podcast show that we're launching as
phenomenal.
We have our school documentary that we're in pre-production for. We're working on a psychedelics documentary. Which is very interesting subject matter.
Is that attached to the biohacking or
it's a byproduct of the biohacking?
Okay.
A lot of the biohackers are now graduating to the psychedelics section of really, interacting with your brain, the subconscious, and things that Teresa talked about a little bit, with sleep and all these type of different.
But those things need to be done correctly under the right
environment. Controlled environment.
So that's what we're trying to bring to the world, that don't just hear psychedelics and go do it, because that can
because it has a bad connotation with it. You hear psychedelics, I almost was like,
you want to sit with the best of the best and really understand how
Well,
to do it the right way. To bring that to the
Neuralink, as an
audience.
example, we talked about it earlier. Neuralink is something that Elon has that it's chipped to
Right.
wire the brain. There's a
Mhm.
disconnect to be able to make people walk again and different things.
And do
like
things that
And
they
do
previously
things.
couldn't do.
So there's ways to do that through psychedelics, which is basically getting the brain to connect again, where there's things that happen, childhood trauma, maybe you hit your head, things that are
Okay.
disconnected in your brain.
Right.
You can reconnect those things subconsciously by, so we'll dive deep into that subject matter. We're also biohacking in pets, horses and dogs and cats. There's a big industry now
Serious.
happening where people now are choosing not to have children, but they're having pets.
The emotional support would come
Right.
from the
Well,
pet. Okay.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, dirty electricity, and maybe it's only hitting our shins and our ankles, but the dog and a cat, they're at the level.
They're face level with these things. Yeah. Okay.
They're drinking the water from the fountain when you go to the park, and
no wonder what dog cancer is.
Dog cancer's happening.
Wow.
All of these things that are happening. Our poor animals are getting
the effects of human foolishness, I guess the best word, right?
Food is heavy on the pesticides. That food is processed, a lot of different things. So their life is also getting cut short.
That's crazy.
So people are now
I never thought
looking
about
at, wait a
that.
minute, I'm making all these healthy choices, and meanwhile, my animals,
our dog, Armenia. His name is Armenia. He's
Armenia.
beautiful Samoyed. He's got gut support. He does PEMF mat where he, recharges his cells. Because, he's not really getting the exercise that his breed needs.
Right.
Well, when we got him, remember, his breeders told us you have to tie his neck up to the car and literally drive 2 miles this way, drive 2 miles this way, because that's how much energy male Samoyeds have. And that's how much they should be exercising. Obviously, we're not doing that.
Right.
But so how do you make their cells move and be active is the PEMF mat.
Yeah.
So our dog is biohacking all day.
Look at that. That's
He's
dope.
so drawn to these little tools. Like he'll go to the frequency machines and he'll just curl up next
To
to
chill out on there,
We're
right?
like, this thing
Yeah.
works.
So
you know?
there's a big industry being birthed out of it. So we're going to explore that because we have, we love animals.
And then
Of
the
course,
conscious-
they're
we have
part of the family.
Yes.
I have
we
a dog too.
conscious
So
community documentary that we're
Yeah.
working on
Mhm.
because those communities are popping everywhere where people are going off the grid, no Wi-Fi, no radiation, all clean food. Like a lot of people are making these choices. So we're willing to explore that and also bring a tutorial to the mainstream.
obviously,
population. We have one that we're working on just focused on female hormonal health and childbirth and pregnancy, how to do
Awesome.
pregnancy the
A lot
The
of
right
the
way.
stories that we did through Teresa's biohacking of what's the proper form of birth control versus improper, different things that, women have been damaging themselves for years
Wow.
without
That's-
even knowing.
And what do you do when you're pregnant? How
Right.
do you shield yourself from the Wi-Fi? There's actually shielding clothes that you can't hold your phone next to your belly. Like I just cringe every
laptop.
time I
That's
see.
it.
It's
Which I want to ask you guys because it seems, and I wanted to avoid because we really don't get political and I'm not going to hear, but a lot of the approach that you guys are taking is different than what I guess would say people empowered would want, right? Biohacking, healthy living, higher degree of enlightenment, right? Because all what this does is subvert them from what I guess the agenda is, the control they want to, put, right?
I think personally, everyone follows the money. And I think the industry right now, in terms of homeopathy and biohacking, is now attracting the interest of big companies. Big companies are actually.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because we're deep in it. And so we're seeing now where a lot of these industry leaders that are in the biohacking space, they're making a conscious choice not to sell their companies to bigger brands. Bigger brands are not offering them because they're losing market share.
Right.
It's no different than your industry of podcasting, right?
Right.
The news media now is losing advertisers and watchers because now the industry is fragmented.
Right.
The audience is watching shows like yours or watching Rogan shows or the other podcasts that exist.
Right.
So
Makes
now
sense. Okay.
you're looking at people now that were former newscasters having a podcast.
Having their own show,
Right, having their
Tucker
own shows,
Carlson's and things like
Carlson.
that.
So,
right.
So, it always follows the industry. It's just a little bit slow to catch up. the norm.
Got it. Okay.
So what's going to be interesting to see is hopefully it doesn't get corrupt again.
Right.
Because usually that happens in every industry when it becomes a monetization thing, then corruption.
When money gets involved.
Politics and stuff. So for the moment, hopefully within our lifetime, it'll stay clean and healthy because the more people are aware, more information is available.
Legitimately.
That's right.
There you go. Right.
So I see that, and I think that it's being embraced more.
Right.
Because in this political climate, a lot of the conversation is most people felt lied to about certain things,
right?
Certain approaches.
People don't trust people no more, right? Or what to trust, or
people just want to be able to make decisions for themselves.
And this guy is the bright example of being mainstream. Like, just eating ice cream and McDonald's. I mean, everything that you would think, and he never believed. Like when I started looking into this homeopathic ways, is like, I don't know, babe, like that stuff doesn't work.
I just believe in the goodness. They're not going to hurt me. They wouldn't do that. But
there you go. You and I think all of us at one point of our lives thought that. I was like that. It's like
somebody would get in real
come
trouble.
on. It's like
but when you
they would lie to us. No,
but when you dig deep, these companies, like we interviewed RFK Jr. He's the presidential candidate.
Robert, right.
He's in this documentary. And he sued and won against a lot of these big.
He's an environmental lawyer, if I'm not mistaken. Right,
but it goes beyond that. Food always. He's won hundreds of millions of dollars of settlements, where people have paid because they've said this. Yeah,
they believed what the mainstream narrative was. Oh, they would have hurt me.
Eating this or taking that or drinking this, they legitimately got hurt. So these companies paid settlements and admitted fault. Or didn't admit fault but paid settlements.
Right.
So, our mindset is that, now we're aware and now we'll be protected.
But the way we got aware is through our journey.
The journey.
Open and available to the public.
Right.
Because we have educated ourselves interview after interview. And we sat down with young-looking, optimized, successful people who are preaching what we're now talking about. So this didn't just come from, okay, now we're changed. We're talking about this.
Right. Okay.
It was literally hours and hours of interviews and really digging deep. And this is what we're trying to bring to the world. Say, hey,
it's
if your doctor,
at the end of the day,
by the way, look at your doctor's health and family life.
I think somebody told me that. It was like, have you ever looked at the doctor that wants to diagnose you? 9 times out of 10, they got something wrong with them, or they're out of shape, or they should be,
What I realized too in interviewing all these people, these are doctors and professionals have mortgages, they have bills to pay. And they also were brought up in a system where they feel that they're doing the right thing. And, it's just like, if you're Jewish, if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, you believe your religion. So their religion is the
whatever they've taught for.
So their heart is in the right place and they're not out to hurt people.
And so many of them have converted because they had their own pain living in that life, in that society. Then they turned alternative and they now have a purpose. And he usually calls them pain to purpose. Interviews that we've had. Majority, I mean, we had 100 interviews, over 100 interviews, probably 80% of these people we interviewed that now own some of the most popular companies and most, influential experts, they had pain to purpose. They were completely in the other
on one side, right?
With scientists from Pfizer, for Christ's sake, getting cancer after cancer, and then moving into alternative things, and then now realizing this is the route.
Again, it's not these big companies' responsibility to tell you don't use deodorant, don't do this, don't do that.
It's still personal responsibility, right?
You gotta. Once you understand, you can eliminate those toxic loads. And then have a healthier lifestyle. Also, stress.
We didn't even talk about that. That's the biggest silent killer right there.
Can make everything. You could take all the supplements you want, but if you have a stressful environment, stressful relationships, stress with your job, stress with your kids, that can prevent you.
That compounds on the issue
over time. So there's a million reasons why an antidote is not working, or why the person. You can't look at a medical professional, be your psychologist, be this, be that, be your health coach, be, it's a lot. And then they got their own problems.
Right. It's like, come on, guys.
So, right now, there's no excuse other than not knowing. right? So
Right.
now you know.
Now,
Right.
Now you know.
there you go.
And that's another plan. You were asking about 2024. Our goal is to release Biohack Yourself, all 6 parts by the end of this year.
Right.
We want to get it
Beautiful.
out to the public as soon as possible so we can make healthier choices.
Beautiful, beautiful. Guys, listen. Definitely. Can we have you guys? Well, this will be 3.
Yeah.
2, but
Yeah.
can we have you guys
Lava
back?
Legends?
Yes,
Next time we bring Lava
absolutely,
Legends.
yes.
Real.
Next time.
You know, we was actually expecting the kids to be here, Love and Legend. We was going to make this a family thing, but we had just the parents here. But I'm hoping part 3, we can have the whole gang here. It'll be a dope conversation. A lot of the audience want to hear a follow-up after the release of the documentary, how it went and everything like that. We're going to be there. We're letting you guys know live on camera here. The Blueprint team will be at the documentary. It's April 25th?
25th.
25th. See, I remember. Told you. Okay.
25th is the red carpet.
And by the way, if you
26th
wanted
at
to do-
10:15 is when the movie shows in the theater.
And by the
Okay.
way, if you wanted to do a remote podcast show there, we have a whole room dedicated. So,
a biohacking lounge where we
biohacking
can
lounge.
give you space. You can sit and interview all the athletes
Yeah.
and movie makers and actors.
Ladies
could
and
try
gentlemen,
biohacking.
you see Anthony. I think he had this up his sleeve, guys. I think he had this up his sleeve, but you know what? We accept challenges over here. We accept challenges, and we are going to accept that challenge, guys. We're going to have a live podcast at the Sunscreen Film Festival in St. Petersburg.
Correct.
St. Petersburg,
Yeah,
April 25th, guys. We are going to have a lot of dope content to share with you guys in the world. So, yes, I'm announcing it. We're going to be there, guys. Thanks for inviting us.
course, yes.
This has been a
Thanks
very
for
dope,
inviting us.
Yes.
dope episode.
Yeah.
Dope episode. We got to have it again
Great
with the
questions.
kids.
Yes.
Thank you, as you guys. I kind of, and it's crazy. I did my homework on a certain set of questions, but the energy kind of just led the
You were
conversation.
very present and,
Yeah.
and just taking everything in and
Yeah.
really
Well,
curious, like a curious child. You were like,
the
"Yo, what are you
thing is,
doing?"
I told my wife this. I love my job because I make it intentional to learn.
Yes.
If I'm learning, the
Evidence.
audience is learning.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm very intentional. I didn't even go on my, just like, damn, okay, what is this? That is a
Yeah.
follow-up as you're
Yeah.
answering this. So
Yeah.
I love
We've
this
had
job.
a conversation
There
more
you
than
go.
more than a podcast.
There you go.
Yeah.
So listen, Therese, and first of all, finally, where can the guys follow you? Where can the audience follow you? And they know about the Lolli brands,
Right. So
but
lollibrands.com. My personal Instagram, I'm very active on it. Anthony Lolli. Teresa's is at Teresa Jacobian.
You guys have to learn my last name.
Yeah.
that's the
One-
Armenian,
Prodigies was a
right?
harder name, but Jacobian.
Right.
Jakobian. Teresa with the Z.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you just go to his page, you'll find
You
it.
definitely find. There you go.
But people just call me Teresa Lolli for ease. I'm like, listen, I wasn't born and raised in Armenia to like forget about that side of me.
Right.
And let's not forget, Armenia was the first country that accepted Christianity as a religion. And that
Wow.
was stopped in Armenia. So, boom.
Wow.
Jacobian
Look at that. And so get it right, guys. Don't be
Get it
playing
right,
with her
guys.
last name now, okay? You feel me? But if you want to know, we're going to have the link in the description show notes, all right? Well, listen, definitely follow Teresa Lolli at Teresa. Because I didn't want to mess it up. They ordered me the first time.
Teresa Jacobian.
Jacobi.
Jacobian.
Jacobi, there you go.
Like
Okay.
Jacob, imagine it's like Jacob,
Right.
Because if I was American, it would be Jacobs, Teresa Jacobs, if I switched it. But
Right.
it's Jacobian.
Jacobian.
And by the way, every
Jacob,
Armenian
right.
last name ends with a IAN or a YAN, just so you know.
Look at that.
Kardashian, Sherlene Sarkisian, Serena Williams' husband Ohanyan.
Oh, the owner read it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yes.
There's a lot of Armenians out there that give it away with
Just
their
give it
last
away
name.
just with the last
That's right.
name. Okay, well,
Yeah.
listen. Okay.
He's going to be watching now.
I'm definitely going to be, you know,
Are you
listen.
Armenian? Okay.
Well, listen, guys, thanks for tuning into the show. Let's definitely, let's drop the comments. Let's get Teresa and Anthony back here again. Also let's advocate for, the Sunscreen Film Festival. Guys, definitely we're going to have the links to their documentaries, the 6-pack. Let's name them. Let's name them all.
From Fat Lolli to 6-Pack Lolli. We have the super lollies.
And Lolli is Lolli.
Yep.
Yes.
From fat Lolli to six-pack Lolli.
Yeah.
Got
When I
okay.
say-
And the super lollies.
Super Lolli.
Skin deep.
Skin deep.
And then we're
The Guru.
the guru.
That'll be live in another month or two on Amazon Prime. And then it goes on Apple TV and all the other platforms.
Okay.
Then we have Biohack Yourself, all 6 parts launching at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then we'll have Tears of Education, which is tears of education through tears of education.
I
And
like.
maybe
Oh,
of
tears.
joy.
I like
There's
that.
like
Okay.
tears of joy, tears of sadness, tears of education. So he came
I
out
like
with this very smart. He likes smart logo, smart title.
Okay.
I came out with the Biohack Yourself. He came out with it. So we're competing.
I see that. That's the competitive nature. Oh, you got one? Hold on. I got you.
Yeah.
Right.
He nailed it. He's like, tears of education. I was like, man, can't beat that one.
Yeah.
But the Biohack Yourself, almost every single castmate at the end of their interview said, so go biohack yourself. It's like a movement where everybody's just saying it in a cool
They're embracing the culture of it and everything.
That's
I love
right,
it. I
that's
love it. Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, they could catch these documentaries on Amazon, Amidst, Roku.
Tubi, you name it, all the major.
And
Apple.
most importantly, stay tuned for our children's podcast,
Yes.
Super Lolli's podcast with Love and Legend, who are going to invite guests like Dr. Shafali and
Wow.
child prodigies and just
Dope.
regular kids, even just talking about what is it like to be a kid? What is it like to manifest the best life for yourself in the next 120 years? You know, can we live till 120 years? Let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
really
Having
create
these
that
dope
next-
conversations and
And
everything.
that's
Yeah.
on Amazon Prime, Super Lolli. So,
Blah.
stay tuned for that.
Man, listen, they have a lot going on. It's hard for me to stay tuned and catch up, but guess what? We're going to do it over here, guys. We are definitely going to do it. Definitely check out the Lollis, man. You know, I had a great time. I had a
Same
great
here.
conversation here. This will not be the last time you see us together. Remember that, guys. Definitely check out every episode every Thursday at 6 p.m. And as always, we're going to catch you guys on the flip side. Take care. Peace.
Blueprint. Yeah. Blueprint. This conversation about building up your blueprint. It's time to take it, cause time is wasted. Go grind and chase it, don't lose it. This generation need integration with information to move with. An inclination that is abiding in entertaining improvement. Yep, West Paul with Blueprint. This guests are exclusive. Get on and tune in and then learn some new tips about credit, finance, investment. A nice chance to get rich and buy land. Flip it, quick 9 bands. Learn all the skills from West, he did it. Learn how to build successful business. Run up a mill and get the digits. Run up a mill. Look, safe place where guests are speaking. Based off financial freedom. All facts, no cap, believe it. Podcast, you have to see it.